it's an interesting time for everyone, for like comedians in particular, right?
Yeah.
Like especially if you're in the business of saying crude things to get a reaction, right?
Mm-hmm. Who told you the show tonight was called Crude Things to Get a Reaction? How the hell did you know that?
4 crude dudes,
I thought this was called Hanging with Lincoln.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, let me get my hat on. It's specially made so I can get it over my headphones. The hardest part is just installing it here.
That is to
get it started.
Yeah.
Is it working out?
I love it.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, Abraham Lincoln here. Oh, I didn't do the button on the suit coat.
Honest Abe.
That's how you can tell the rookie status.
Is that going to be a new like Fox News like indicator of authenticity? We have Abe Lincoln. He's the most honest man in news.
I don't know why they don't just bring Reagan back in some sort of cyber form like they do.
Impersonators?
With musicians on tour.
Oh my God! Did you see that cringeworthy thing that Kanye did for Kim?
Not yet.
It was a hologram of Dad, who's dead.
Sleepy Joe.
Will you shut up, man?
Trump has lost it. I know words. Trump has lost it. China.
Come on, man.
Sleepy Joe. Trump has lost it. China.
I warned you I was coming back, and I'm back.
Welcome to the Never Ending Becomings 2020 election show. Also Halloween, since this is going to be the scariest day of the year between now and next Halloween. How's everyone doing?
Great.
Oh, I'm doing great over here.
Joined by
Surviving.
three guests, 3 excellent guests. I'm not sure exactly who they are. It's dark out. It's kind of hard to see. Honest Abe here with you, coming from to the land of Lincoln. Excited to talk about tonight's election. I heard people are going to the polls. I heard people are checking out maybe a new presidential candidate.
Is something happening today? Is there something going on today? Oh, the election. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just
There's
totally
an
spaced it
elderly
out.
man contest today.
Yeah.
There is an elderly man contest.
I remember when I voted for William Howard Taft, and the thing he said was, make bathtubs bigger.
He was a big boy, that
He
Taft.
was a big boy. He did get stuck.
All
in a
political
bathtub.
opinions, they're victims of their time. No, there's no doubt about that. That was a long time ago. What kind of era are you talking about? I don't know. Who is this? Is
I am the ghost of Tom Joad from the Books of Wrath. I will.
Thank you.
Full
We need to know who we're
disclosure.
dealing with here. We need to know how we're going to bring in the new election year, the new cycle with.
Honestly, I would have forgot who he was. I think there's a Rage Against the Machine song called "The Ghost of Tom Joad," and so that's a little bit more prescient. But the thing is like, I want to be clear. I read probably maybe a total of like a quarter of that book for homework. The Cliff Notes for the rest. But I do remember the end. Do you guys remember the end?
Isn't that what his Grapes Wrath, he smushes his head, right? Is that, no, am I thinking of Mice and Men? I'm sorry.
That's
I'm thinking
Mice and Men.
Yeah.
This is even more
worse, right?
titillating. I will give you a hint.
Someone's going to get Steinbeck. That's all I know.
Somebody.
Get it back gold.
Spoilers, dude. Hey, spoilers.
Yeah. Well, do you remember?
No. I was going to make a joke, but then it got interrupted.
You tell us, because then we got to figure out who we even dealing with.
Yeah,
I don't even know what they remember, where they're from, what era they are.
I should know.
I'm
Right?
talking as much as a Steinbeck novel.
Hey. I gotta know this ending though.
Okay.
Come on.
So at the end, there's
Let's check in on the election map.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
This whole time we just don't get to the end of it.
Yeah, 3 hours later. Yeah, it's basically the daughter has a kid, I think, who dies in childbirth, and there's an old man, because it takes place in the Depression. The old man is like dying as well, and they're out of food, and the old man instead
Eats the dead baby.
No, gets the breast milk from the mother.
Oh, that's better than what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, reading
I
that,
knew it had
So
to do with
the mother's
14,
dead. The mother's dead,
said
and he's just
titillating.
suckling at
No,
the dead breast.
the baby is dead. The mother's alive, but then she offers her breast to the old man.
Well, Americans are known for their ingenuity. Speaking of, I want to get to know the rest of my citizens here. Make sure that we're a united party.
My
here
mind is blown. Yeah. So I'm a Starfleet Federation Officer. I'm in my Operations Gold right now. Live long and prosper, maybe.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. I chose this because I am looking for my utopian future that I believe is possible.
There you
Not
go.
all the sad and despair and this fucking anger that we have. Let's knock that to the side. Let's come together and cooperate. Because
like
we
it.
got all more things in common than against each other,
We
right?
do.
So-
We are in a battle for the soul of this nation.
That's true. So we
Indeed.
do need to stay united, everyone. Absolutely
True.
united. But I like that you're thinking of like the positive element of tonight.
Trying.
we're going to have this humanitarian, utopian future.
Like I said earlier, I've been burned once before pretty heavily, so I'm trying to be as optimistic as possible.
Yeah, we can't do too much history. And then on the end here,
So I'm supposed to be Carrie Brownstein's character, Lance, from Portlandia. But due to the cold, it really isn't coming through. But
what's
you
not
know,
coming through? I feel like
Yeah,
you got the
I
stash.
covered
you
up
got the,
my fake sideburns.
Oh,
okay.
well, flash them. You flash them to your camera. Play them to the
They're
camera.
probably
though.
gone.
Use the light, and then move your hand down.
yeah.
There you go. You got it right there.
I just pulled my hair, folks.
No, but Joe, Rob, Matt, thank you so much for coming tonight.
course.
Obviously,
Yeah,
we're in
thanks for having
character.
us.
Feel
Yep.
free to jump in and out of your individual personality here as a
boy.
21st century American living in Chicago, or of course, into your
23rd century
character. Thank you.
Klingon?
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. Did the
Either or.
Klingons ever get like for example, if you dated one, were they clingers, like stage 10 clingers?
Stage 10 clingers.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not familiar with the
Star Trek?
canon. Yeah.
Interspecies love is all game in that.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Interspecies love, it's what it's all about, right? Everyone's with each other, and it's the utopian world. You can get with who you want to get. Unfortunately, though, they just it's taken them until 2019 to have like a gay relationship on actual Star Trek television. It was always like they had a kiss back in the day, but it
I
was
was going
always
to say they had a famous one, right?
There's a
Between
big
two women.
Yeah. Oh, actually, the original kiss was Uhura and Kirk, and that was the first interracial kiss ever on television back in the day. And the only way they did it was because it was so far in the future, and they were under some sort of love spell where they were both were very confused, and
Sorry,
that's the
that's
reason why
very
they kissed
funny.
each other. But it's like that's how they had to do it. They had to figure out a way.
Pulled the old Bill Cosby on.
Yeah. They got a little wine.
I wouldn't mind being taken to the future so we can get out of this conversation right now.
Yeah, right.
Actually,
Bill Cosby.
if at all
First-
possible.
first
This is the land of
interracial
Lincoln,
kiss.
motherfuckers. I don't know where you think you are. There's other podcasts for that. Let's keep it between the ropes.
man.
Yeah, between the, keep it around the belt. Let's keep it around the belt area.
Yeah,
But we're
Star
gonna-
Trek's big boundaries.
It'd be
that's all.
great to be able to jump into the future, not just to rip on you guys, but obviously to see the election results. I'm fucking dying here. Have you guys been following it minute by minute leading up to tonight?
Not really.
Most of the day.
Just because.
Well, I've just been on, more. I've been actually the reason
that
I was
mic,
a little
Joe.
late was because I was a poll watcher.
Oh, nice.
I wasn't appointed, well, not officially.
The Democratic, make sure
You just were hanging
no
out
one
there.
gets injured poll watcher or
Right, yeah.
Republican.
I thought a poll watcher meant you frequent the strip clubs.
Yeah.
I thought that's what that means. No? Okay. Sorry.
China!
There's a lot of different options for what things can mean. Obviously, there's two different lenses, at least in America.
Yeah. No, I went to the polls yesterday. I voted early. Luckily, I got in and out. It was like, I don't know, about an hour and 20 minutes total.
You went in person though.
I did because I had a registration issue, and I requested the mail-in ballot, but then they never sent it. So I don't know. here
Same
we
exact
are.
thing happened to me.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it was getting a little close, and I just figured, why not? I'll vote early, 1 day early. That's a big step for someone with ADHD. Okay, huge. No procrastination whatsoever. That's a win.
Huge.
No, that is. I'm surprised. I mean, I'm happy you went in person, and I'm fascinated to hear what it was like too. I can't fully rely on the New York Times to tell me what
Yeah, it took you an
voting's like
hour.
in Miami and Chicago.
It took you an hour, yeah?
I was voting for about an hour of it because of that 17-page ballot. Seriously, but I will be, because before I used to kind of just when I get to that section, just I don't know, just do whatever.
The judges.
Yeah, this guy's got a cool name, whatever. But I did look up a cheat sheet for a progressive, cheat sheet for the judges in particular.
Was it easy to find online?
I reached out to my cohort of political, friends.
Oh, you verified it with an individual person. This
Yeah.
wasn't just Googling, tell me who to vote for. Chicago.
I farmed
Democrat.
it out. It was once removed. I told my friends to Google it and send me any
There you
links.
go.
they could
Yeah.
find.
Rob, you said you had a registration issue too?
I requested a mail-in ballot and then forgot about it, and then I got another letter in the mail saying we haven't received your mail-in ballot, so when you go in to vote you need to bring it with you. So I just never got it, and I just got scared thinking that they weren't gonna let me vote randomly, they're gonna be some
right.
hardcore Trump supporters there or something. But yeah, it was fine, except I just went there and had to get a provisional ballot, but then it was the person helping me didn't know what to do, but still I was in and out of there in 25 minutes or something.
Okay.
So it wasn't that bad, but yeah.
Someone was telling me about the provisional ballots, though. Like
They don't count. They're not used.
I'm worried about that.
That's a
I'm
joke.
worried about that. Because they didn't put mine in through like where all the other votes went. Because they still need to wait to see if my mail-in vote is like vetoed or whatever. I don't know.
In terms of timing, are they treated like mail-in votes? Do they open them at a different time for the provisional ballots? Does anyone know this?
I think it's well.
I'm not trying to spread YouTube
state by
disinformation
state,
here.
I think.
I was gonna say state by state. I know that Illinois, they will count. I was actually listening to this today. Some states only count mail-in voting and provisional ballots the day of the election. That's when they start counting. Others will count their votes early, and I think Illinois is one of those states that once they start getting them and they start counting them. So there's some states like Michigan that have all of this early voting, and they might not know until Friday because they don't start counting the votes until the polls close today. So even if they have like, you know, however many millions of votes in there, they can't count it until. But Illinois, I don't think it works like that. It's up until the day. And then you see a lot of places are they're trying to stop it. So if you, like, say you have a mail-in ballot, originally if it was postmarked today, it counts. But there's a lot of places that they're trying to say if it doesn't arrive to the place it's supposed to by 9 o'clock, it's going to be invalidated completely.
Right, and they're still having those court fights for some of those, right?
Yeah. So you
A
should
lot
be
to
good.
keep track of.
Yeah,
There's no doubt
you should be
about it.
good.
We can't be geniuses on it tonight. Obviously, we're just going to mainly see when certain states are called. Everyone's going to look on their cell phones.
Yeah, speaking of, I think there was some, when we first sat down, there was, I don't know if they were called, but they were leaning pretty heavily.
Full context, we're nearing 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're filming this in Chicago, and none of the results are really in. They really just started closing the East Coast polls within the last hour, and they're crunching the numbers now.
I do have a bone to pick while we get an update, but the thing is it makes me think about like the absurdity of that in the past, like without early voting. Like, let's say you're waiting an hour, hour and a half, even 2 hours, and all of this mess of a stuff. Like, how is it that we hinge the results on a literal 1 day?
Yeah.
Like, go to vote, and then at 8 p.m. you got to turn it off. Like, what if so many people show up? The fact that it's so arbitrary like that makes you realize how designed it is to fail in a sense. And I think the numbers that came in of early votes, and it's just
Do they have stats on like how many people get turned away every election? Like people who are waiting and like, sorry, you're just too far to like.
The rule is if you're in line, they won't turn you away.
Yeah, it's only a matter of how long the wait will be.
Yeah.
And obviously the assumption is if there's like an 8-hour wait at the end of the night, some people are getting out of line. Like that's suppressing the vote. Not everyone's going to be voting through that.
Yeah.
Matt, what do you got for us?
So it looks from my national results.
You don't have an update song?
It's so right now it's saying that it's the electoral votes. It's 16 for Biden and 22 for Trump.
Shit.
So far, it looks like Florida is leaning Trump. Or I'm sorry, Florida is leaning Biden at the moment.
Come on, Matt. Don't screw with us on Florida. Come on.
I tried to lead with the big one
Jesus.
first.
Come on, man.
Telling us he's
Vermont is blue. It looks like it's going for Biden.
Good. Okay.
Virginia proper looks like it's going for Biden. West Virginia is Trump. Kentucky is Trump, and it looks like Georgia. South Carolina. South Carolina.
You saw that, right?
Those are the leaning ones.
So it's obviously no, we can't take too many conclusions at this point.
Yeah, you can't.
We're not even going to have results at the end of the night. We're going to sit here and film for a couple hours. But is anyone
Not with that attitude.
Is anyone here confident that we'll know who the president is tonight?
Well, it depends. I'm confident if
Trump cheats, yes.
well, I guess I should say no.
Might help him.
I should say no. The idea is that if a lot of the Eastern Bloc, states start going blue, then it's over, right? It's over. But like if Trump wins Florida, that's going to be a longer election. If Biden wins Florida, it's pretty much over, right? If Trump wins Pennsylvania, Biden's going to have a hard time, right? If Biden wins Pennsylvania and Florida. So you'll see the shape of by the end of the night, you should see the shape of what things are. You might not know officially what the results are, but you should see the shape of how it's going to play out. Whether it's going to be a protracted 2-3 week thing, or if it's going to be like, oh, well, by tomorrow, you can see that there's mostly leaning blue, or it's leaning red. So, we'll see. Oh, Michigan is like the big one though that everyone's worried about, and like I said, it might not be until Friday that they have official full tally.
Right.
But I did see.
I'll be right back.
before I
by the way.
left.
Continue.
I just keep getting more anxious and anxious.
Yeah, right.
I did see before I left on CNN they were talking about how Michigan purposefully planned to speed up these results. So they like staffed up a bunch of people to count these ballots because I think they're the state where you couldn't start counting until election day.
Yep.
So they had predicted that 50% of the, mail or early votes would be counted by whatever time they set today.
That's
which
good
is,
to know.
is
Yeah.
pretty interesting. But I do think that is a unique challenge because like we're talking about, I just struggle with thinking, it was inconvenient as all hell to go vote. Right?
Yeah.
Like
It always is. It should be a national holiday, right?
should be a national holiday.
Get to that.
You should always be registered to vote. You should be by default, that's it.
Yep.
Tie it to your social security number. You know what I mean? Hey, I got a social security number and I can vote once. And then if we need to audit it, we know that this guy
Right. If they're forcing you to vote with your dollars, in terms of paying for things, they should let you vote with your voice easily.
This is a sincere question, though. Homeless people, since it's tied to your residency, a lot of times your proof of residency. How are homeless people allowed to vote?
Wow.
They should be able to vote in Washington, D.C.
Right, yeah.
The 51st
By
day,
default.
somehow. No matter where they are in the country, they can talk about what needs to change in Washington.
That is an
They can-
interesting question.
can go
How do
toward
you
them.
do that? How do you even deal with that?
I mean,
Chicago does have a real ID movement. Are you familiar with this new
I've heard
ID
about it,
that's
yeah.
supposed to help people who have insecure housing? It just basically lowers the barrier to getting an ID in the first place. You don't need maybe a lease to get the state ID, to get the voter registration, to have a say. You just need something more tenuous in terms of your address
Interesting.
confirmation.
They made
But
it hard
still-
for me to get my real ID.
Did they really?
Yeah.
See, 50%
I
of this
just had-
podcast was voter suppressed already. Now you couldn't get a real ID, Rob. I mean, what the hell?
Well, because I went to get my new ID, and then they were like, "Are you here to get a real ID?" I'm like, "Of course I am. What the fuck are you talking about?" They're like, "No, a real ID. This is the new thing." And I'm like, "Yeah, if I can." They're like,
What a
"Oh,
bad name.
you're missing one piece of information." I'm like, "Okay, fine."
You
I
got
won't get
denied?
it."
What was it?
No, I had got my regular driver's license, but I guess
You need something
you
else.
still need something to get it to say that it's a real ID.
You got to pay the guy $50 extra for the hologram.
Yeah, you do.
Government works again, everyone.
turn it into a shiny.
Government works
But
again.
I guess they're saying that you can't. I think it's in effect already. You can't be on a plane without a real ID.
Yeah.
Even if you're going within the country.
Well, no one's on a
you
plane
need
anyway.
your real ID.
Well,
No,
speaking
yeah.
of, a plane is going overhead. Everyone
As I
can
say it.
loudly hear.
Yeah. Filled with verified identities.
all real people in that plane.
Well, it is interesting though, but why is that the case? Is because I don't know if it was the FAA or the federal government set these standards for states to abide by on, whatever this criteria were for updating the ID service. Illinois, amongst other states, basically just balked on it, never invested in it, and waited till the deadline to require everyone to get it. Because I literally got a motorcycle license, got tested, and the next month they started making those new ones available. So now I got to go back again.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it's been I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years. I guess I could get another one. But nobody wants to go to the DMV, just like nobody really wants to vote.
Right.
All right?
That's
Can we
right.
be honest here?
Back to that.
Right? I just, especially now, here I am, with agoraphobia. I'm afraid of people.
Yeah.
Don't, come on, man. Don't stand so close to me.
And then you got to go in-person vote with a bunch of strangers.
Today, somebody at my polling place, they came in without a mask
Really?
and sandals with no socks. That's besides the point. But come on, no mask.
Well, what
Wait,
kind of pushback did they get?
Hold up. Wait. Sandals with no socks, I'd say, is more normal. Are you? Okay. I was going to say.
I'm just kidding.
No, I
I was
think
going to say, are you the guy who wears socks with sandals?
I assume Rob was implying that they couldn't take off their sock and wear it over their face like a mask.
Oh, yeah, come on.
I assume that's what the knowledge was
Yeah,
for.
just
Okay.
be smart. Wear socks with sandals, everybody.
I
Or-
did see a couple people without the masks going into a polling place,
insane.
and they were denied, and they were holding up the line. They caused a disturbance, and they kept
Come on, man.
Come on, man. It's like, come on.
How many push-ups you want to do here, pal?
Yeah, I mean, give me a break. It's just talking nonsense.
Will you shut up, man?
Oh, come on. I just I have to work my way around the board and make sure I know where these even
I was
are.
coming back, and I'm back. You are in a battle.
Did that one.
For
I
the
did that one. I did that one.
I got hairy legs.
There we go. There's a new one. There's a new one. I knew there was a new one on there somewhere. Somewhere.
As bad as it is, I know words. That's the best words.
As bad as this is. He knows the best words, guys. He knows the best words.
Do you remember, was it the second, or maybe it was the first presidential debate? Trump got so upset when, like, Biden kind of inferred that he wasn't smart.
Don't you ever use smart with me again,
Don't you ever use that
Joe.
word with me again, Joe. It was so funny. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about this today, and it's a tough thing to talk about. And the reason I, put on this, surprisingly, I'm not gonna lie, I switched it up from like Huck Finn, but I don't know how that reads anymore. Right? But the thing is,
What was the name of his best friend?
Right, exactly. But the thing is like, I want to point something out, is like, so much of American iconography, art, culture is tainted with this poison. And the thing is like, here I resort on this metaphor of like the Depression and the Dust Bowl. But the thing is like, it's something that we don't, it's not like we're celebrating that shit. Just like these farmers and stuff, like supporting Trump, even though like these tariffs and stuff are completely destroying and decimating themselves. Like, and if they are doing well, it's because of direct government handouts.
More subsidies, corporate welfare, basically,
Right.
in a way.
And so my point is like,
Farm aid is not corporate welfare, but sorry.
it's so frustrating to see, like, when you're talking about this baby, right? Like Trump, it's what it is. I'm not trying to say it as a pejorative, but it is sincere idiocy. Like, all of the behaviors that he uses are what idiots, very unintelligent people, learn to use as a way to have power.
Yeah. Immature, childish people, yeah.
There
Like,
are ways to shortcut normal best practices in social interactions. Cutting people off, not minding taking more time at, elbowing someone out.
Yeah.
And also, it's like he's probably used to that shit, like in his world,
100%.
Before he went into politics, that's what he did to everybody.
Yeah,
that
who
he
told him
interacted
no?
with,
He was Trump, right? He was Trump.
Yeah.
And that was before he was even the president. And he was just a personality. So
Yeah.
people liked him because he was just a personality, so he could get away with even more back then.
Yeah.
Like, when you weren't hated and everyone didn't know you were straight up racist,
Right.
it's different. And now, he is a baby. He is a baby. I
Right.
think it's very interesting too how I think the rest of the world understands that and now uses that against him because he's so transparent with his emotions. He wears his heart on his sleeve all the time. France gives him a military parade and he's just like, "Ooh, I love tanks." You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just so basic.
Well, and I think it's just because it's so profound, people have a hard time believing that it's not an act.
Right.
And
The
I was
idea that he's
listening-
an evil genius, right?
Right.
He's
So
just an evil.
I listened
idiot.
to some interview, I think it was on Fresh Air with Aaron Sorkin, and we can leave our judgments of Aaron Sorkin to the side for just this one thing. But they asked him, if you had to write Trump or something like that, he said the challenge with that would be is that he, like a character with no empathy or something you could identify with, is unconvincing and unbelievable. And Trump, if you had to write him, he would only be like somebody you'd see from the back in an ancillary way, because no one would believe just how conceited he is.
Here's the thing, though. Trump, in a way, is able to keep people on his side because that selfish, narcissistic drive is put in service of America. So if you view yourself as an American, I think you are able to put yourself in his shoes because he's telling people he's making America great again, not just for himself, which he obviously is, but he's implying that he's making America great again for you too.
Yeah. I think that goes back to Republicans wrapping themselves up in the flag, though, and being the only people in this country who can be patriotic as if you're a Republican. I think he feeds into that myth as well, right? Like, I'm a Republican. Obviously, I stand up for the flag and God, and obviously that gives me carte blanche to do whatever I want because obviously.
Sorry, that was funny how you said that. The flag and God.
And God, because you can't have one without the other, right?
Bad order.
You can't have one without the other anymore, right? You can't be a patriot and not love God.
They should just
apparently.
combine it and call it flawed. Flag
You know
God.
what? The thing that is frustrating is they never explain much about who Richard Sands is.
Lost me.
Is he he was the whatchamacallit guy?
He's the whatchamacallit guy.
The,
Nice.
the name on the. Are you talking about the laptop again, or who's Richard
No,
Sands?
James,
no.
you sound just
He's
like
in
Abraham
the Pledge of
Lincoln.
Allegiance. He's in the
Oh,
Pledge of Allegiance.
for Richard Sands.
Yeah. One nation under God.
For Richard Sands.
Yeah, Richard Sands. He's a
School joke.
Listen to me. I'm like, oh, conspiracy? Oh, is that the weird conspiracy guy?
Yeah.
No, Matt.
No, it's just the flag under God and all that stuff. I'm not trying to say that there's any perfect path forward, but my path. No,
If you'll follow my advice.
yeah. But what I liked about what you were saying, James, is that he creates kind of like I'm gonna even bring in Star Trek here. He creates
go.
like a little capsule that anyone can step into, and it's already little. It's like a little escape pod that it's owned by the U.S. government. Whenever somebody inhabits the mind, the simpleton mindset, they feel empowered that their impulses, their greed, their faults, they've been absolved by God or Trump, right? They don't have to worry about their sins. Like them being selfish or greedy is actually helping the country, right? And that's kind of the greed is good type of thing.
Right.
And he makes it easy and he absolves them from all forms of guilt. Because that's, I think, what a lot of people use, like some of the religion for, right? Is they just need an escape valve for those feelings of shame and guilt.
Yep. Trump is that to them, right? I can completely see that. I don't understand it at all, right?
He also just puts on a hell of a rock show. I
Yeah.
mean, let's be honest. A lot of people are
YMCA.
looking for
He's
purpose,
funny, right?
are
He's
looking
funny.
for some sort of thing to lob onto. I mean, he's in every headline. He's in every article. If you want to feel like you're significant, you want to feel like him. You at least want to feel associated to him.
And how confrontational too. Like he, either you love him or you hate him. So when you love him and you're that kind of person that'll just die for him, and you get to be a victim, right? Oh well, everybody hates Trump, but I love Trump, and you know what I'm saying? I think there's a victimhood too.
It's
that
me and
Americans
Trump
really love.
against everybody.
Yeah.
I like being a Cubs fan.
No, but I was thinking about like it truly does like just make me sick to my stomach to see like black people or Hispanic people being like, yeah, I support Trump and blah blah blah. It's like that just kills me because it's like, how can you not see just how hateful and just racist, flat out racist that this man is, or not even that, just like how he's trying to trick all of you and he's doing it successfully.
Same for evangelical Christians, right? People who want to live according to faith. If
Yeah,
he's willing to put some justices on the court, everything else is forgiven, right? It's that same thing.
So I can
to absolve
understand
anything else.
the Christian. I should say I can't understand the Christians because he's so bald-faced with his transgressions and stuff. Though African Americans and Latino, I can kind of understand that because how many times have you been promised things by Democrats over the years and years and it hasn't been delivered, right? And so now you're at a point where we expect you to vote for us because the other person is so evil, right? And I'm not saying I agree with that logic because obviously one side is definitely more tolerant, I would say, than the other side. But I feel like if you were constantly
Not the word I thought you were going to say.
I wasn't either. Yeah.
After that kind of, I was like, oh shit, he's going to say something crazy.
But I just feel
tolerance.
Like,
You need me to say a word for you?
yeah, right. Yeah, there you go. Let's go back in time.
Character.
This in character guy can say whatever.
No.
I just wish people who support Trump would just be real and be like, it's because of my taxes or it's because of my income. Like, I don't
Rich
give a
people-
fuck about equality.
Rich people, 100%. That's why I love Trump.
I have used that kind of justification, and it's something that I remember like saying something. It's just like, look, if you're rich, like I get it, like, but just be okay with you saying, no, I'm making this purely on a financial decision.
Exactly.
Honestly,
Exactly.
I wish that the Democrats would start doing the same thing.
Fuck yes.
Because hold up, like when we were talking about like, the failed promises to disenfranchised communities of any type, right? Women, people of color, or even economic groups, right? The thing is that number one is they stopped even offering any economic promises to these communities.
Yeah.
It's always a like, hey, yeah, we're allowing gay marriage now. Pat us on the back. How much did it cost them? Not a dime, right? the thing is that they are uninterested in that stuff. But go back to your question about like the reckoning. Let's say half of the Latino voters in Florida, which there's a lot of Cuban people that see the specter of socialism in Joe Biden, which is, I think, absurd.
I was wondering when Miami-Dade County would come up, how long it would take them for the Cuban vote in Miami to come up.
But the argument is like, say, for the left is, for how long are we going to continue to, buy this, brinksmanship? Like, you better vote for this lame-ass old man because once we stop, right, the Democrats have no chance.
Yep.
Right? And so that's something that is interesting. I mean, I don't mean to go back to... Like, it's just amazing how the coronavirus totally swept what happened to Bernie under the rug this year. That deserves a second look. I don't really know what the thing is, but all those people dropping out.
It was so fascinating to me. It was so fascinating to me how everybody, and it was timed. It was timed. Buttigieg, Kamala, Warren didn't. Do you notice she was the one who didn't want to split?
What do you mean
the
timed? It was when the primary had made it to the Southern vote.
No, I disagree. I mean, yes, but I feel I
don't get me
understand.
wrong. Biden made a significant. Like, he went from literally his campaign being over and getting crushed, right, to having the first sign of life in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And so what happened was, because Bernie had been purported to be having a high proportion, Bernie was getting solid like 20% of the vote amongst the field of, 7 people at that time. But what happened is Biden wins South Carolina, maybe a couple other states. It was a mix for the rest of that night. And all of the promising people, like Buttigieg, who was pulling down, like, he won, he was half with Bernie, he was doing well. Why would he give up that early?
Right.
It was almost like a third of the way done, right?
He's going to have a long political career.
Sure.
And honestly, he's going to have his long career.
I agree, yeah.
And he's going to have other shots at it. And it makes perfect sense for him at that point to be like, I don't want to get fucking embarrassed, and I don't want to look like a dick, and then I want to act. Everyone say, oh, you ruined this. Mayor Pete ruined it for the Democrats, whatever. So Pete, you talk about inching toward the exit. There's a very real reason people headed for the exit as quick as they did.
He didn't want to be a Beto, because Beto, I think he put all his cards on the table with all the gun stuff, as a desperate cry. I mean, he was already a loser by definition, right? And he used that to...
Right. See, I like him, but you were 100% right. You're a loser, and then you're going to try to run for president after you lost, and then you go out on this crazy limb that is just... It's like, what's his name? Was it not Hickenlooper? The other guy who was just like, reparations. It's the same kind of thing. Like, I don't think that's going to generate what you want.
So I think they broke the rule of incrementalism is the thing. And I'm not saying that I don't agree with certain reasons to do that. Like,
break it down for Middle America. What the fuck are you talking about?
I was going to say, explain it to me. I'm very
Break it down for
ignorant.
Middle America.
Okay, so have you guys heard this phrase they're saying a lot now is, he said the quiet part out loud about Trump, right? He says these things, no longer a dog whistle. It's just in your face.
Also known as systematic desensitization in a way, too. It allows him to commit crimes in public because, you wouldn't commit this crime and tell us, right?
Exactly. So with these types of things, when you say something, you go on record like Beto about guns. The thing is like, incrementalism refers to like anything that's not radical. It comes from this idea of like, well, you can't say that from a PR perspective because you're going to lose the people in the middle. And the problem is that the Democrats have, Hillary is the definition of incrementalism. There's no such thing as radical change. They just we want to keep things
unless we're talking regime change, right?
Right, but
sorry.
But my
hawkish
point is,
Clinton thing. I had to jump in at some point.
Yeah.
No, but I see what you're saying. It's weird when something is so slow moving, right? We're used to big, fast.
Like a 78-year-old man.
Right. I guess though, back to that, I think that that's a problem with two parties. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's not important. How old are Trump and Biden?
It's a great question.
78 and
Trump is older, right?
73 or 74?
73. I think
Trump
he's
is younger.
Oh wait, no, Trump is younger. Yeah.
Damn. Biden will be the oldest if he's elected
Joe.
the oldest president
78.
ever.
Shit.
Yeah.
I got hairy legs.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we were still comfortable
I got
there.
gray hairy legs.
I think that's the problem with the two-party system now is the incrementalism. You don't see a radical candidate that comes out that catches fire. You know, the parties are pretty locked down. You saw when Bernie first ran against Hillary, how they just slapped him down hard. They just did not want. And again, you saw how even at the beginning,
DNC. You're talking about the DNC?
Yes. The party system, general. You know, it's DNC. You know,
Well, I mean, it's the Democrats' own fault. I mean,
Yeah,
they had a certain idea.
Yeah.
They form a committee as a way to consolidate power and swing a heavier stick. That comes with positive things and that comes with negative things. Obviously there's a coalition building element to that, but then there's groupthink.
Yep.
There's getting too many fucking cooks in the kitchen, right?
And at the end of the day, you
cooks.
want. At the end of the day, you want to win the presidency, right? And maybe like radical leaps aren't what America wants, right? America wants slow and steady, right?
But let's just take a look at like where we're at now with the Republican Party. I think it started with the Tea Party. My point is why can't the Democrats
do that.
allow themselves to do that? Like create this radical wing, and I think Trump has kind of branded the squad already, right?
That's not Trump's branding, though.
AOC
They
plus
are that.
3.
They're offering that voice to the media to be the radical. I mean, that does exist. You're pointing it out
Democratic
directly.
I guess what I'm
socialism.
trying to say, though, is that the Republicans at least acknowledge that, like, hey, they might have a good idea here. Why does, Pelosi kind of like publicly see it as a threat as opposed to harness it in a smart way? Because I think they need those people, and especially nowadays. Like, I don't know. If Biden loses tonight, we're in for a shit show.
Yeah.
Like,
Wait, we're gonna
a lot of
riot if we
reasons.
find that out tonight, right? We said that.
That's why I got a fresh gimbal on this camera, ready to run down the street with it, no doubt.
It's gonna be. I mean, like, yeah.
Real quick,
if he wins, it's insane.
Yeah. Yeah,
It would
it's
be
gonna be a
insane.
long night, Rob. Go use that bathroom. You gotta take care of your urinal needs moving forward here. There's no doubt about it.
I'm thinking of that scene in The Naked Gun. Have you seen that lately?
Not lately.
I love it, but no.
There's a scene where he's got like a lapel mic on, and then he like leaves
With
leaves
the queen, right? He's
Yeah, he goes into the bathroom. I talk about like good binges of stuff to watch to lighten the mood a little bit.
there. You go.
You know.
Spoof movies are good for that because they have just enough reality for you to recognize factual, or historical patterns. But you're like, oh, this is just insane. This is not how it
goofy.
went.
Goofy.
They even make OJ look like a good guy, right? They even got
Yeah, that's right.
Speaking of the Naked Gun specifically,
That's so funny. Yeah, I forget that he's like, the other guy. He's like the
Yeah.
sidekick, right?
you guys
Yeah,
talked
what-
about tabling something.
Nordberg.
Tabling something when I went to
Oh, that was
the
the
garage a minute.
laptop.
What
Just real
was-
quick, I want to make your
Okay,
point.
sorry.
I think what you're saying about that has a lot to do with the figure in charge of the party. Trump allowed the Republican Party, I think, to be even more extreme. I think if the Democrats had a figure, like Obama, right? Obama, if he wanted to, could have pushed it, I think, towards the end of his presidency extremely, but he didn't want to. He wanted to be center. I think the figure of the Republican Party has forced them more right. And the Democrats don't have somebody that's willing to do that. It was Bernie, but they didn't want to go to Bernie. Bernie was not...
I don't know if Obama. I mean, I think Obama ended up being more centrist than we thought. I don't know how much he
Yes.
wanted to be center, though. I mean, there's a certain. You just have to look at how things get done too, how deals get done.
He was practical. I think he was completely practical.
And if we're gonna, sorry,
ahead.
no,
I would just say when we say center, I think that the deceiving part about that word is that it denies any sense that there's someone in power. Like it comes from this like omnipotent kind of wholesome place where like that's what's dictating your values. I'm being pragmatic, but it ignores who's at the table. And I think what's frustrating and what is dangerous about somebody like Obama is he's slick. He knows how to appease and create an ambiance of hope, of aspiration, of all these things. Meanwhile, after a couple of years, you look back at some of the policies, and we can talk about, where like Biden fits into that, Hunter. I'm not trying to make it out of conspiracy, but why is it even used as bait? It's because of things like influence peddling, which happens on all sides, but it's not that it's from a particular party. It's because it's a fact of power, right? How does power get influenced? How does it take power? How does it hold power? And what do we allow as a society? And so the thing is
power is. I can tell you right now, power is assumed. It's never given.
right.
So you do have to just step forward more quickly, more forcefully than the other party or the other participant.
I feel like the last 4 years have shown us that completely, right? He's just done things, and there's no precedent, right?
Look, quickly, guys, I just had this realization the other day. You know how they call like right, left, like we use these names? When they were passing out names, how is it not indicative of how things generally go that Republicans got to be right?
Yeah.
That they get to be right about everything, isn't it? And we get to be left and center, or like Democrats end up being left. We as Republicans, I'm sorry, I'm Lincoln. I should be.
Just the terms
No,
conservative
but what
and
the
liberal.
fuck is with that?
It's all branding. They're
am I
better
missing
branders.
something? Is the right-left denomination based off of something else? That
How about
I'm
a donkey
unaware
and an
of?
elephant?
But how comical is that?
What would you rather be, a donkey or an elephant? Right?
I'd rather
Even
be
in
an
that.
ass,
Yeah,
you
be
know?
the ass,
It's
right?
that ass.
No, I mean elephants, very beloved.
Speaking of, okay, on CNN today, they had this they must be having trouble with like finding advertisers besides prescription drugs, because they had one that was just more of like a self-serving like CNN, we're the best, but it was a animated political cartoon of an elephant and a donkey sitting on a bench, kind of on the opposite ends, and then they're like, wait a second, is that a donk elephant? And this guy walks up. He's a combination between the two. He's like, hey guys, want to sit down somewhere in the middle? And then both of them are like, no, there's no room. And that's it. I'm like, are you serious? Like, it's centrism, and for that regard, like liberalism as an idea is an erasure. It's an ideology that doesn't allow for the examination of the cogs of power. And I think what's interesting is like a lot of people get a general feel for that. They get a general feel that like Biden he's not forthright. Like, he comes from Delaware, where all of the credit card companies are registered for a reason. DuPont, all these corporate types of, evasion.
Also notable that he has been elected senator at an age younger than all of us sitting here right now.
Yeah.
He's been a senator since he was 29 years old.
Right.
I got.
And we're all 30 and up here.
There's no question that he is the establishment, right? There is no question that he is establishment. He has had his hand on the levers of power for many, many decades.
I warned you I was coming back, and I'm back.
He's back, baby.
There's no question of that. But I guess the idea is, do you want somebody who's steered the ship already? And that entails levers of power, like you're saying, being manipulated in ways that aren't always. I guess the idea is there's some morally reprehensible things versus like abject evil. I guess at the end of the day, sometimes you have to make that decision. Do you want kids in cages, or do you want this guy's son to make a little extra money? I don't know. I don't know if that's actually.
Let's put all the kids in cages.
That's a little too extreme.
I was going to say, comparing those two things.
Man,
yeah.
schools were modeled after prisons, dude. Why do you think they have bells that let you out? You know what I mean? It's like
Why do you think they have PE
It's-
teachers? No, I'm kidding.
Why?
It's all about the factories. They're modeling you for the factories.
Yeah,
Sit down,
exactly.
shut up, push the lever.
Yeah.
Let's
Don't
go
talk
into
back.
Hunter Biden stuff, because I feel like you're going to change my mind about it a little bit.
Let's
And
not go
I'm
too.
down with
Let's not
that.
go
I'm
too
not-
hard.
I'm
Okay.
down with that.
Let's not go too hard. I want to hear it though. I do want to know what was percolating out here while I was producing.
I will give you a source. I have not double checked because I just heard it, but it's from the podcast TrueAnon. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but anyway, I can give some background on the guys and the source before, but they wanted to talk about how, right now the story is how radical the social media companies are cracking down on the spread of this content that's out there from these, unknown source of Hunter Biden videos. There's like a sex tape of him getting a foot job. There's
Never
like,
heard that.
Yeah.
Kinky.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Really kinky stuff. And it's like, or him smoking crack, like in bed, him smoking crack while driving, like videos.
Oh, well, while driving, come on,
I mean, okay, look.
In bed all day, but come on.
So this is the thing. It's like whatever I'm not even trying to bring it up, but what they did mention is, number one, is kind of this radical crackdown, which in a way is interesting because these social media companies don't want to be held accountable like they were this last time around for, the Hillary emails. But then what is interesting is why like Hunter Biden is like, can you think about this? Like, if he's such a fail son, like a fuck up, like how did he end up on the board of this company? Well, him and one of the like a stepson of like the Hines family, right? And
John
Kerry's what, like
I was gonna say, yeah, his
son?
wife is Teresa Hines Carey.
Miss
She's the
Hines,
Hines,
yeah.
Oh,
Teresa
okay,
Hines
yeah.
heir. So I'm sure that's their son, right?
So yeah, it's one of her sons. They start a capital investment company that starts doing deals with this Burisma. But I mean, I'm not even going to go through it. But my point is that they start up this company with like the goal, even though it's not necessarily like the goal was to have Biden get any money, like Joe Biden. The thing is that this firm became a way for, when the Ukraine started breaking up, one of the oligarchs who runs this Burisma company was afraid of outside actors trying to make a claim on this company. So what did they do? Because they wanted to protect themselves from international firms suing them for possession of all these international holdings when the government broke up. So they hired...
How is America
Burt
supposed to keep
Biden's firm.
this story straight? You know, no one's going to
It's
be able
insane.
to keep track
It's
of these
insane.
details. No one has time to figure out exactly the connections. I mean, I'm
not saying that anyone would. Here I am hearing about it. I'm just trying to point out is that there is a learning curve, right? Like, we have Trump on one side that says, you know, do whatever you want, do what feels good. I'm your leader, and we'll make America great again. That's simple as all hell. It doesn't require any real education to understand.
You know what else is simple as all hell is that, like, Biden's son is just kind of not as good as his dad. Is that, you know, I don't want to call him a fuck up or whatever, but just that he's like struggling.
He
you
is.
know, there's got to be a lot of families in America that have family members with opioid addictions or that have that sort of black cloud hanging over them. That I would assume see this Hunter Biden story and in some way I would hope be able to connect with them. You know, for an aging father that, you know, apparently has done everything he could, you know, to help his progeny do well, and having to answer questions in front of all of America, like, why is your son such a fuck up, basically. Like, to me, the overall emotion of the whole thing, it just doesn't jive well. Obviously, I'm seeing things through a political lens, whatever. Earlier, we were talking about what kind of economic things we're offering, this and that. You know, really, at the end of the day, the parties are just offering emotions, right? And the emotion I have about Hunter Biden, and that's why I'm trying to, like, boil it down, like, all these details about Hunter, what could have happened, you know, what we know did happen, what has just recently come out in terms of happening. I feel like he's just kind of some fuck-up son who definitely tried to get a job down at dad's company, i.e. on that energy board, and his dad's always shaking his head answering questions about him. I mean, I feel bad for Biden, generally with his son. I mean,
Yeah, likewise. I didn't want to be insensitive to that. I'm just trying to point out is that I want, like, for example, if we're talking about, like, power, levers of power, these are important things to do, because there is a second thing that this firm is currently involved in, which is contracts for this stealth fighter technology that a Chinese aerospace company basically is using his firm to legitimize bids on I think it's like this other aerospace company. That's all I'm trying to say. It's like he's at the center of these major geopolitical military things. His firm is managing and kind of masking some of the financial transactions.
Right.
So when people because I was always wondering, like, why the fuck are they focusing on all this stuff? Like, for the public, it's all about the scandal, and that's juicy enough. But there's all these people over the last 4 years that are basically negotiating this agreement through Ukraine relating to China and their military development, because the other company that China is trying to buy is a formerly Russian jet company that has all the IP from the old Soviet MiGs. China is trying to bypass Russia to be able to produce its own jet engines for its fighters in China through this deal. And Biden is trying to facilitate that.
Sure. The world has always been a chessboard, though.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
And
So I like those details. I think those are really important details for I guess, like, you know, a nerd. You know, I love shit like that.
You call me a
Because I
nerd?
want to know. I did not you, me, because I really wanted you to say that. You know, I don't think you're disparaging Hunter Biden at all. I think if there's legitimate, you know, things going on, I think, you know, like you said, the scandal is the smokescreen. But if there's other things going on, my thing is though, is if you have to find Hunter Biden doing this, I hate whataboutism, right? Because it feels like in my head, I immediately go, well, look at all the Trump kids and all the shit that they get up to, and so my brain immediately goes to whataboutism, right? And I dislike that, because what you're saying is important, right? Because that stuff is almost even worse than just getting some, you know, China to give you free clothes or whatever the fuck she was doing, right? The idea that you are a geopolitical actor between nation states and you're not affiliated with any government, that is kind of scary, and that, you know, Biden.
That's what all rich people
Joe
are.
Biden.
Though. You guys know that, right? They're all geopolitical actors.
Right.
They technically do have nation states, but it doesn't matter to them in the same way it matters to us.
Right. There's no allegiance to countries when you can move your company. You know, when Apple's based out of Ireland, you know, they don't give a shit, right?
Earlier, we're talking about nationalism. You know, that might matter a lot to people who need that $1,200 check with Trump's name on it. You know, your nationalism doesn't matter to you if you have a condo in Manhattan, you have a place in Berlin, you know, you have a place in Spain. I don't know. You use your other examples. But they don't look at. I mean, I said the world's a chessboard earlier, but I mean, rich people use the world like a big fucking park. Basically, it's the same thing.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Did anyone see any election results, or did we get any?
I did not. No, that was a text.
Any updates
from
we got?
someone. Yeah. I did want to talk about how you said it's interesting how, you know, Biden has this son who's like an addict, and
I do have some bad news.
how you think some people
finish
would
off.
how some
Take your
people would
time.
empathize with that, but it's like, I don't want to speak for all of you, but like even me to some extent, like I always see like whatever candidate I want to vote for, they have to be perfect.
I get that.
Like they shouldn't have any flaws whatsoever. So it's like kind of crazy how, like, you're right, like people should be like, oh, he has a son who's an addict, and like you said, he's an aging father. They should empathize with that, but at the same time, I see how they're like, oh, well, fuck Biden, you know.
Oh, a lot of America is just seeing like there's dirt on him, there's dirt on his dad. It's as simple as that. And honestly, not everyone has enough time. It is as simple as that sometimes. You do have to just be like, look at how corrupt this person is. So obviously the connection can't be that clean, right? Yeah. So it's understandable. I'm definitely talking more of a Democratic perspective. I think a lot of people, that it's just an unforgivable. When it comes to Hunter, it's just he's involved with bad things. He is bad. The party's bad. It does become as simple as that.
I mean, I'd like to party with him. No.
It sounds like a time. It sounds like a real time.
Like, I don't know. If he lived on my dorm floor, you know, like, oh, pretty chill.
He's got a place. Like when Lisa became president of The Simpsons, wasn't Bart like the secretary of keeping it real or keeping it cool or something? He could be that job, you know. He can.
And she had to raise everybody's taxes, but she didn't know how to do it correctly, so everybody got a refund, but it was just a tax upgrade. Do you remember that? I remember that whole episode.
So now I'm really anxious for this news.
Mitch McConnell has won re-election.
Oh.
Yeah. Kentucky's fully red.
How decisive? Did you see a percentage? Or?
Pretty red. Electoral votes though, 85 Biden, 61 for Trump. All right, so Biden's currently winning the Electoral College, but yeah.
We'll take that. It's good news.
Well, so for, like, let's say McConnell said he still is on some of these early votes too, or did they say like how many are reporting? Or
They haven't said how many is reporting yet, but it says. Hold on a second.
Can we talk about what happened to him?
His hands.
yeah.
What happened?
he's a
I really
pugilist.
Gotta ask God.
I'm sorry for masturbating, God. Yeah. Here's my penance.
It looked really messed up. Whatever was going on there was just not.
Or he like jacks it so hard that's what happens to his
Hey.
hands.
It looks
Like
like
hands
Trump
are out of
is
control.
running
Or his
Florida.
hands get hard.
No, but
instead.
seriously,
This guy's got something to show us.
but seriously, does anybody know like what could have possibly? I have really no idea. I just saw that.
I don't know.
He was
Fight
all
before the
bruised up.
election with domestic.
They were saying
Because
this-
of course I'm like it's Trump's goons.
something
Like,
with blood transfusions. That was what they were
I
saying.
heard he's also on a blood thinner because he put off a heart procedure to pass the Amy Coney Barrett. By the way, whenever you hear that word, do you remember Coney 2012?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh!
The guy who
yes.
got, it was like some
Yeah.
So he did it was a fundraiser he did for some country in Africa, and then he eventually went crazy and lost his mind, and there's a video of him running around naked saying he was God and all this stuff, and the power
Child
corrupted
soldiers,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah. Yes, he was stopping child soldiers.
Can I give you all updates on what my girlfriend is saying?
Absolutely.
I think it's pretty funny.
Absolutely, Rob.
So I got.
How is she spending her election night?
I
Give us some
felt-
context.
but-
Paint
okay,
a
so-
picture for the audience.
So me and my girlfriend today, she worked, but she works from home, so she works. So we were just kind of hanging out the whole day. I'm sure she was working in the morning when I was asleep. But
I don't need her whole life story, Rob. But where is she right now? She's at your home.
Yeah.
Is she alone?
We were we were hanging out the whole day. That's my point. And kind of not really talking about the election. I would kind of chime in with something because we were watching CNN, and she'd just be like, but I could tell she's just I don't want to hear this right now. I really don't. It's too stressful.
Yeah.
And so then she sent me a text, and she's like, I need to stress eat. How do you feel about sushi? Because I told her I'll be home later about 9 or so. And then I go, thumbs up. I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get that. What else do you want? And she said, also, are you watching this shit? And I'm like, what's going on?
Okay, so before you speak, she wants sushi is the only information we have in this story, which means she's feeling open to other cuisines.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So she's not a Trump supporter. That's for sure.
I'm trying to read between the lines here.
Ooh, she said fuck Florida. It shouldn't be this close.
Yeah.
Okay.
Florida's looking pretty Trumpy.
Florida.
But on the bright hand, Texas is looking pretty blue. It looks like Biden's winning Texas by a
Texas is
couple.
looking blue as Mitch McConnell's hands.
Pretty fucked up.
Anyone want to
Oh
wager
my
a guess as to when this is going to be wrapped up by? Does anyone?
I think we'll know by the end of by tomorrow.
The never-ending podcast pool.
I think
I'm
going
gonna
to
say
tomorrow.
we'll know at 1:17 a.m.
Okay.
What? I don't know.
You don't think so?
I think this is going to be a saga, just like everything else, because time is kind of like a spiral at this point.
I'll take Thursday morning.
Thursday.
Thursday morning.
I think it's going to go till
December.
It's gonna be 2.5 years before we know.
But I'm hoping that some of these states it's called, and that's it. I mean, I guess we'll find out if some of these states are within thousands of votes one way or the other. That's when we're going to have some issues. Some of these big states being within 1,000 votes. But if the Electoral College is really flipping in one direction, right, it's not really going to matter, right? If by tomorrow, you're right. I'm trying to be optimistic.
I guess I think it's just I'm hopeful that we'll get some promising numbers where if there is any attempt, it's going to be clearly fraudulent.
Mm-hmm.
But
The hat's back on, folks.
What I will say
We need
about
the power.
the Republicans is when they try some crazy strategy, they make sure that they have the votes and they have the law on their side, and now they got the Supreme Court. So that's why I always get freaked out.
It's scary.
Because the thing is did you see the lame attempt at the Democrats to we walked out on this hearing or whatever. It's
didn't do anything.
it's such weakness, and that's what I'm frustrated by. And as we
It's
said,
that power is assumed type thing. You have to be
Right.
mean enough to assume power. You have to be hardened enough.
I mean, think about it. You have this. Mitch McConnell's a weakling. It's shown. It's visible. Attack him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to
You
point
got
out.
bad hands. What's wrong with your hands?
Yeah.
Your hands are wrong. Something's wrong with your hands.
I've got poor blood circulation.
That's why.
That's what he sounds like, right?
Yeah. Anyone voting for this proposition, raise your hand and
I know
keep it up
words.
for 5 hours.
Now we're fucking talking
Yeah.
here. Yeah. I heard clotting earlier.
Yeah.
So
I think that's why I like
This guy's on
AOC though,
Coumadin, he's on the
'cause
blood
she doesn't
thinner.
take shit. She doesn't take
Yeah.
shit from anybody,
Yeah.
right? She's like, yeah, this guy called me a motherfucker, and he's kind of a waste of space, she doesn't really take their shit, and I think that's why she gets under their skin so much. If you say whatever you want about her politics or whatever, which I like, but she doesn't take their shit, and she's a Latinx woman, and she's just like, no, you're not gonna put me in a box, you're gonna deal with me at the table like everyone else, and that's why I like her, because she's not she's not no pushover, I think we need
I'm
more
not
people
no
like that.
pushover. No, I'm kidding.
Rob, thank you for keeping us in
Trying to keep
in
it
full
real.
perspective.
Yeah.
No, honestly.
More youth. I want more youth.
Well, I mean, relative youth. I mean,
Yeah,
the thing is the average age is absurd. But I think it kind of falls on our generation to do it. But for example,
Kind of falls on our generation to do it.
well, okay, this is what I'm going to say.
It's kind of up to us.
is what's frustrating in particular, and it's something to look at, is like AOC went to Boston College, I want to say. Where'd she go?
I think so.
Where'd she? I'm curious.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's just.
I think so.
I don't know. I believe she went to school in Boston. I don't know about Boston College.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I can't remember where she went, but there's.
I just love how you said AOC, like, you know, we're pals. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, is that what I'm not allowed to say it?
No.
I honestly,
convincing,
I don't know why they both
Sweet
laughed.
jump.
I looked at both of them because I didn't get why they laughed, and I was like, what?
Because I was like, oh yeah, like I think I went to college with Boston. You know? No,
I laughed because we're going over someone's resume who's too young to be president. That's why I'm laughing.
I know, right?
On presidential election night. But she is the number one player, I would say, in the Democratic Party, which
Well,
is amazing.
yeah.
Which
Well-
is amazing because she just got there. She just got in. She's a very
Right.
hopeful
2 years.
figure
2 years.
in many ways.
And what I'm gonna say is, like, regardless, because I've been burned with, you know, on the DNC through the burning experiences, my whole thing about her is what I hope that she's able to do is that she can harness whatever energy she can muster to create an outlet so these more leftist views, instead of liberal, leftist views can be aired in public and taken seriously, and people can see them for what they are. And I like what we're talking about, assuming power. That Green New Deal has defined both sides of the debate, and that's what I'm talking about. It's gutsy, right? And I don't care if you're going to say, like, I mean, do you think that Joe Biden would have said in that debate, we're going to walk away from fossil fuels?
Fuck no.
Did you hear that?
Trump got in his head.
Well, look, no, I don't think no.
I think that's really important, and that's what we need more of. Because the thing is like, fight fire with fire. No more of this, like, hey, you know, I'm gonna, you know, it's like a gentlemanly duel.
Yeah,
like,
there was no
it's
incrementalism about that, right? We're going to end coal. There was nothing incremental about that, right?
But
That was
it's-
very stated.
it's real talk.
Yeah.
People want real talk. They don't want bullshit.
Again, that's Trump.
I
right?
would love
Nothing
to
but
hear
real talk.
Biden be like, real talk? Gotta get rid of coal.
Again, hey, he's 70 years old, been playing the same game for 47 years. Trump
Can we
is
say
a whole
he
new
looks
animal.
pretty good for 78? Very good, actually, you know? I would guess he's in his late 50s.
I don't really stare at many.
One thing quickly about playing fire with fire, it conceptually, I feel like it can be difficult if one person's ability to play with fire means no new taxes, meaning zero. They're starting at zero. If you want to play with fire, you need to meet that fire power. So how do you go down to zero? You know, how do you come up with nothing ever again, zero? Like that's what we're going to spend $1 bajillion dollars. Are you going to make up a number that's, you know, bigger so that you average at the number you want?
Oh, and they love the idea that it's going to be like $12 quadrillion.
Exactly.
You can't pay for that over 30 years.
Exactly.
You can't make that.
It's
when you
gonna
fight
be
fire-
20 Trump trillion dollars.
When you fight fire with fire, just to be fair, if one's fire is just burning down the house with how expensive it is, it's actually kind of a problem, because one side just saying we don't want anything from you, like the Republicans are saying, like 0%, like no more taxes, we're not going to ask for any more money, we're not going to offer you anything, but we're sure as fuck not going to take anything. The fighting that level of fire is we're going to take more, we're going to take way more. It doesn't balance like that. It doesn't actually, it's not like zero sum like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So I understand that. But, so this is how you fight fire with fire there. You say, listen, I'm going to offer you a package in which you pay no taxes. You can pay no taxes whatsoever. But if you step on a public sidewalk, I'll beat your fucking ass. If you drive a car, okay? If you drive a car on one of my streets, you're fucking dead. All right? Don't fuck with me. All right?
I might
If you send
take
fucking
that.
postcard, you spend full price. No more subsidies for you. Oh yeah? You want to sell your milk? Farmer Jim, all right?
Can I bike on those streets
Yeah, you're
that
gonna
I
be
can't
chugging
drive
a lot of
on?
milk because you can't sell that shit because I run this place. You don't. That's the thing, is the government has weight. The Democrats have weight. They have programs, and they can push people around if they want. But the thing is like,
Oh, the government doesn't have its own weight, though. It just has weight that we give it in the form of tax dollars. That's important, because it's not, I said zero sum earlier, but like, you can't tax people outside of the number that we make per year in GDP. You know, you can't, in terms of
okay,
fire, like you can't go beyond what we make. I mean, in terms of weight, if we're talking about a
Think about it this
quantifiable
way.
thing.
Think about it this way: China, okay? We always think like, oh, China,
soundbite.
they're fucking stealing our intellectual property.
Perfect
No.
time.
They got a good strategy, is what they have, because they have real terms, because they understand the stakes. We go over there with our high-minded ideas.
We do steal their property, though, or they do steal our intellectual property, though.
Yeah, but the thing is because they can. And the thing is they use it to their advantage. They play hardball.
Right.
And they've been able to influence and grow. I mean, their numbers on GDP, and look at their coronavirus numbers. They're doing okay. It's kind of like that whole thing about...
But you talk about you step on the sidewalk, shut the fuck up, or I'll put a gun in your face. That's what they literally
I
did for
didn't
Corona.
say-
I was
No,
gonna
but
say,
that's
China
you're talking
right
about
there,
how you're
lockdown.
making it happen. That is how they
Authoritarian.
made it happen. Like
But-
that's why people.
Okay, so this is another thing. Let's say I agree that that's the perception. Okay, but another way to read it. Let's say we try to adopt a policy. Let's say assume everybody wanted. Let's say, you got 5 kids at home and a wife. You have to go to work. You get
Nice.
sick. Yeah. This is purely
Yeah.
imaginary. at
I'm
this point.
not alone with those
Ladies,
5 kids.
Kids and a wife.
Sleepy Joe. I know words. Trump is lost. You know, we just had another stock rocket.
Continue.
But so
China.
the thing is let's say you get sick. All right. Now you're not going to get paid for 2 weeks. Okay. You can't pay for your medical bills to go to the hospital, but you don't want to go back home and infect all of your kids. Okay. China figured out early on 85% of the spread was from family member to family member, and they could cut it down by 80% by allowing to have an area where one person who was exposed could go to wait it out. Now the thing is that costs money. And maybe somebody doesn't want to go. But for us, let's let the wife say, no, fuck, you go to the school gym and sleep it off for 2 weeks. We don't want to get sick. And if it's free, people will use it.
I think, yeah, if it's free, people use it. But I think also that there's a self-sacrifice there that I don't think Americans have. I don't think Americans
Because
like
they're poor.
Yes.
Also, though,
yeah.
if it's free, you risk like people not trying that hard.
Right.
You know, and like it not really being up to like code or regulation. You know, like
If you get COVID, we'll give you a tax cut.
that'd be,
Anyway, I'm sorry.
No.
I don't want to get on.
50% off at Walmart.
if
you get
policies
COVID.
directed at people more, I think you would see things change, right? If it was, like you said, economic promises. If people actually got economic promises and they were delivered and you were able to actually like spend this money on people instead of, actually spending money on COVID. Could you imagine if we actually put all that $2 trillion that we just gave away to companies into actual people's pockets, how much better off we would be as a nation, as like per deaths, per everything?
I mean, with Federal Reserve lending, the number is higher than that. It's closer to $5 trillion. And you brought up the Social Security number earlier. That's what they do for taxes. Your Social Security number is just your tax number. So they could have actually given out this money just like they did with the $1,200 payments directly to individuals so that they could have their own economic voice. And it didn't have to flow through some company in the form of the Paycheck Protection Program.
Well, but so that's another thing. Government contracts. This is why you should never take a Republican free market person seriously. Is because they hate government spending only if it goes to employ a government worker or a government administrative thing. Not because they hate those people or they hate the process or they're making any objective evaluation of the service or product that things offer. Case in point, Postal Service. They are pissed because you're not giving the money directly to them to use in an unsupervised manner. Right. That's the level of entitlement that underpins their ideology. It's not about efficiency. It's not about the macroeconomic equilibrium of, like, let's say I give 1,000 people jobs on a government salary, even if it's low and even if it's less efficient than a cutthroat company. The thing is, it's like Uber is efficient. Those people get paid starvation wages, and they offload the operating costs onto the individual contractors.
This is complicated, though, because there is sort of a government monopoly with the taxi system, the medallions. You mentioned people who are right-leaning, free market. I mean, they would make the argument that the government intervention got us in this mess in the first place. And you brought up the original meaning of liberal. Liberal is about freedom, correct? You would actually have, in theory, the most amount of freedom if the least amount of your dollars were taken as possible. You mentioned that they don't want people supervising how they're spending their money. who does want people supervising how their money is spent? Does anyone like their bank accounts being looked at, their account statements? You know,
Yeah.
maybe by a
I do
partner
not
in the,
like
maybe
when
by a
people
partner
watch
in the
me spend
past.
my money.
I'm not.
Because in a way, in theory, we're all working, we're all creating, and then if the money is taken, taxed, you know, by the one person that can put us in cages legally, if that money is taken, then it's not in fact being chosen on how it's spent by the individual who made it. Someone else is choosing, and you're, you know, in a way saying that can only be a good thing, which of course is not always a possibility. That's why we have elections to say how should the money be spent in this manner, in that matter. So it does get complicated, right? Like there's not just government spending is better than individual spending, because I think all of us sitting here maybe would agree the opposite, that I prefer to spend my own money. I don't want anyone at the Social Security office to tell me how to spend my productive.
Sure. Well, when that comes to like
Excess.
healthcare and complicated things like insurance and things like that, yeah, take my money, look in my bank account. Like if you could, you know what I'm saying? Like the more
Wait.
complicated the things are.
Where the freedom ends, where
I am not. I just want to be clear though. I'm not saying that this isn't even like a universal basic income or monitoring your spending as a person.
that's what taxes are, though.
But see, this is a thing though. Is yes, they do that to assess whether you paid it. But this is the thing. Right now, your taxes went into this big hopper called the government. Okay. Now the thing is that what they're going to do with that is a big question mark. And right now, you can only control that by who you vote for. But what Republicans consistently argue for, let's say public schools.
Yeah, I think.
charter schools.
The better way to influence how that's spent is not voting, is probably lobbying before voting. I will have to say, just for the in fairness,
That's
it's
the
probably lobbying.
I was
Which,
going to get to is how much
which is the
money is in
problem.
power and how that is influencing everything.
Okay, but why would somebody spend millions of dollars to lobby in the first place?
because there's millions of dollars worth of revenue to be had because people
Government
want
contracts to be made, right? So
I don't know that connection.
Sure, I can see government contracts too, but also when you're controlling the laws and you can. I was listening recently. What was it? The small town wanted fiber optic network, and there was a company came in, basically said you couldn't do this, blah blah blah, and they were trying to make it a utility, and that was a company used lobbyists to fight that utility. It wasn't necessarily getting any government contracts, but it was using all their money to change the laws to help and benefit them, and they made more money off of it, right? They would make more money off of it. I think there's a pool of money available, and the more laws and lobbying they do, they can take more money out of that pool, which is the tax pool, which is what you're saying, right?
So let's say, okay, Chicago public schools. Typically, like if they have a union, let's say they have a custodian staff, maintenance staff.
I'm actually very familiar with this exact example.
Okay, but the thing is let's say they don't want to pay the union rates anymore.
Which is what happened.
Right. So they terminate the relationship with the union. So it's no longer union wages to maintain the schools. And then they go to a private company which provides that service.
I think it's Aramark for CPS.
Okay. So now it's a private service provider. It's like a black box. Aramark can negotiate wages with every individual employee. And CPS never has to hear from the union of like what they're demanding, because it's just the guy up top who sold that account to Chicago. So they pay them a lump sum to provide all these services, and they're going to make a profit off of it by cutting expenses. So they get a set number of stuff. They know they have X amount of things to do.
Just in the example here, though, taxation stays exactly the same when you're able to find a cost-cutting measure. And then someone just soaks it up.
Right. So the thing is like, let's say it's all about the balance of who you're giving the money to. But let's just assume the government has a set amount of money. The thing is like, if the government controlled every single dollar, right? Like for the postal service, right? They get $1 from you in taxes. That dollar goes to build a new post office, to pay a postal worker to deliver the mail, XYZ. It's always touched by the government. Never left the government's hands. Okay, and they provide the service, they provide the organization and the bureaucracy. However, if it's a private contractor like a charter school, those charter schools, let's say they enroll 10,000 kids out of other schools. They get a lump sum for each kid per year, okay? But there's no monitoring how much of each dollar goes to spend directly on that kid.
Right.
They can take a profit. Like the company can literally have an excess, a surplus, and take your tax dollars that you paid, and some private individual is pocketing that money.
They specifically hire teachers that don't have teaching certifications, right? They can just play by different rules. Keep in mind, though, the government made the rules.
Right.
It's all in context of the rules the government set in the first place. Any of these examples you're bringing up, the government is playing some role in it, which is what makes it incredibly intellectually difficult to, in real time, discount maybe the government's influence in one situation, or just maybe assume attribution in another situation, right?
Sure.
We don't need to go. I don't want to go too deep in the.
Sorry.
Sorry, I left and then I heard CPS. What's going on?
But I agree with you that
Trying to call you back, Rob. Yeah.
Republicans are definitely have a vein in them that is extreme privatization, right? That's they're in for the privatization of everything, so that they can make that money off the government and take it away from the government.
I want to tell you,
Put it in their own pockets.
your example, by the way, I do find it striking. I even that one specifically, how they have privatized maybe a school worker, like someone who cleans, and how they're not working for Chicago Public Schools anymore. They work for Aramark. There's been the same school worker near here, I'm not going to say exactly where it is, but cleaning the school for 25 years. And I know this for a fact because they were there cleaning that school when I went there, and they're still there cleaning that school. But they do now work for Aramark. They do have separate billing and payroll. They're not like under that Chicago Public School wing.
Why'd you know the custodian so well? Were you always like puking or something? Or
Well,
I had a crush.
James again.
I had a crush
Get out
on
the
her.
sawdust.
I had a crush on her daughter for 8 years, actually. Her daughter also went to the school, and I had a crush.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like, you know, community. It's
Keep it in the family.
wanted to bang the janitor's daughter. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting though. That's a big thing. Republicans love privatizing. They love putting that money back in their own pockets, to sometimes even the detriment of things, right? Like look at the post office. This is a perfect example. It seems like that's the vein they want to go. They want to privatize the post office more, when that's like, and that's another thing, the idea that there's just services that we as people all agree are good ideas, right? That don't need to be privatized, right? At what point are they going to run more into difficulties with that, when they're going to start wanting to do more things that we just take for granted, you know?
Yeah, utilities. You brought that up. That's
Utilities, yeah. That internet thing I was listening to was fascinating. This town did it. They did it, and they had one guy going out that was servicing, that was going to these old guys' houses because they left their thing on mute, and so so basically the government.
Wait, sorry, what?
Sure.
They left
So
their
the
what on
government
mute?
became the people who were in charge of this utility, right?
Right.
So when that entails that, you have to do customer service now. So they didn't even think about that. So then they had to hire customer service people for this town who had to go out on service calls, and it would be a lot of the older residents of the neighborhood, and they'd leave the channel on. It had to be on 3, or so they'd have the same people going out,
Okay.
and it ended up being this community service thing that like linked the community together. It was actually a really nice story, and the community ended up kicking ass, but then the lobbyists came in and they ended up getting dusted, of course, because the big power structures just were like, no. But they were a rural community that had no internet access, and the utilities were basically like, well, you don't matter to us. You know,
Yeah.
we won't make money off of you, so by putting any services there, it doesn't matter. So they're like, we're gonna do it ourselves.
Speaking of utilities, who'd you vote for the water reclamation?
Man, I used to write myself in for that. I was just writing myself in. writing
I
those.
like getting wet. Yo.
Yeah. I'll reclaim all the water you want. Give
Right
me
down.
$70,000 a year. And,
They call me Wet Willie, bro.
Lyrics to Bon Jovi, "Slippery When Wet."
Did you vote yes
on the
on
ballot.
yes or no on all of those judges at the end? Did you let them all stay, or were y'all like no?
I did it based on name.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
If they were Hispanic, I said yes.
There were a couple of Hispanic
If it
ones.
sounded like
on
they
my
were black.
progressive thing, I was like, it was like a site called Injustice Watch. A lot of
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
A lot of the Hispanic people were on that.
Well,
like,
there
as into-
was I believe it was one of them that was he was all about getting cops off.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Not for getting them out of charges, but
Like just jerking them off, right? just like find any cop you can.
We hear what we want to hear, don't we? We hear what we want to
Hey,
hear.
you're a
Also,
first responder. I owe you something.
Put
Let me
these
help you out.
handcuffs on.
It's like 8:05 right now. Did we realize that?
No, it's not 8:05. It's
That makes
7:05.
sense. Yeah, it's been like an hour,
Oh my God,
hour and a half.
8:03.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes
Wow.
sense. I can do the equipment check quickly.
Have we really been doing this for 90 minutes?
About, yeah.
Damn. know.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're.
I gotta
fine. You keep
I gotta
getting
get
up.
my
That's why
quota in. Yeah.
I was gonna say you got 30 minutes, bro. What are you doing for your
Getting
30?
up, walking around.
No, if I'm being 100% honest, I really
Please.
I don't like following politics because it just like upsets me, and it kind of makes me feel like a hypocrite a little bit, you know, because it's like I have to pick sort of like, I'm being dramatic, but like the lesser evil of the two, you know what I mean? Like, not in this case, in my opinion, you know, because Trump is just, to me, it's like he's not well.
Yeah.
He's a mentally ill person. He's a sociopath, and it should be easy to just be like, all right, let's just vote for the normal person who will look out for everybody, even if they're not, you know, Democrats in this case. But I really don't like to follow politics just because it stresses me out. It really stresses me the fuck out.
It's stressful watching something that you absolutely have no control over, except
That too,
for
yeah.
you know, maybe once every 2 years, right?
Well, and also
You know?
kind of like in our state, like
Yeah,
it's very rare that it'll go Republican.
I don't think it has. In
You
the
know,
last,
like,
And governors
wow,
have been
it's like-
corrupted.
yeah.
Governors have gone to jail. It's very disheartening.
Yeah,
Talking about
yeah,
politics being
absolutely.
upsetting.
Keep talking. Okay. Yeah.
Well, you know what's crazy is, you know, so I was 22. I started teaching right out of school, and
Damn, yeah.
so just recently, I've been getting a lot of like people reaching out on Instagram, like past students, and they're like 22, 23.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Like, which is kind of fucked up, but like
they
the thing-
voted.
Yeah, but like, but the thing is like,
Any of them super hot?
but like the thing is like they're.
I warned you I was coming back, and I'm back.
We are back. We are back on
We're
this
back,
one.
baby.
Thank God.
But you were saying, Joe?
But like a couple of them really reached out. Like they're either, some of them are in art school, or they are like, one of them's out of school and she just got like a record deal, and like,
Cool.
you know, so it's like cool shit like that,
Yeah.
where it's just, my point is like, when I was a teacher, it was like, there's so much more of that. Like, it's like, I almost felt uncomfortable being involved in any of it. Like, it was just kind of one of those things like, yo, like, this is my job. Like,
Yeah.
why are you feeling like this connection with me? You know, here I
Yeah.
am. I'm performing
I
this
feel like
role.
a fraud a little bit. Yeah.
Right,
like,
but then
yeah.
How
like,
formative you are to their upbringing, right?
But,
It's like
yeah.
you have there's a parental element to it that you didn't necessarily sign up for that, right?
It's
like
that emotional connection.
Right.
Even like, you know.
you want to teach. You don't necessarily want to have, you were just a kid. Next year I won't know you. I'll probably forget you within 2 years.
well, it wasn't like that.
not
I mean,
serious, but
but it's cool. It's cool is what I'll say, is that like, hey, you know what? Like, even though like I was struggling, and I mean at 22, like I was still figuring shit out.
I was
Like,
going to say it's the
I
blind
was
leading the
24
blind.
when I first started teaching. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I'm not a real adult even.
yeah, and then on top of that, I look back, I'm like, I'm surprised they even like anyone would allow that. How is that legal to allow a 22-year-old?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just kind of like and plus I threw me in there when I got interviewed. They said, how do you feel about running a 3-ring circus? I was like, oh yeah, anything. Like, I'll just take any
Yeah,
job.
yeah, yeah,
it's
whatever.
2010, baby. Like,
It's like, do
come
I
on.
get a
Did
whip?
you work?
Do I get
Did
to
you
use a
work at the
stick with-
same school for all those
I
years?
did, yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's
anyway, I do applaud. It's important work, but I think with like teaching in particular, to kind of talk about what we said is, you know, it's just like now that kids can't go back to school. Okay, public schools are an imperfect entity, right?
Yep.
But how do people talk about it? Instead of saying like, hey, you know, it's like a kid, okay? He's 7 years old, and he says the F word or something at the dinner table,
Jail.
and grandma's there.
Throw him
right?
in jail.
yeah. So I slap my kid when she does that. Just open hand right across
Yeah.
the mouth.
He's
and,
like, I slap her with a
That
shoe.
solves the problem.
Thanks
that
for
just
joining
solves
us
the
tonight.
problem.
Will
Yeah.
you shut up, man?
Okay. Yeah, come on.
So what I'm saying is
I don't
like,
hit my kids, obviously.
No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
I mean,
was
hard. I don't hit
shutting
them
both of
hard.
us up. I was shutting both of us up. I said the jail time. I don't think this 7-year-old should serve time. Not yet.
No.
Give him 11 years. You know.
but
What kind of prison?
yeah. Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is like, there's a lot of different ideas about what you should do. A lot of people get fucking freaked out about any mistake that their kid makes, and they get so worried about their future. And as a teacher, you see that every day, right?
Yeah, 'cause the kids-
Helicopter parents,
Yes.
or the
yeah.
total opposite.
Absolutely.
But what I'm trying to say about like public education is like, look, it's not going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. Just like your fucking kid. Okay.
Did you drop this in the interview? Was this the quote you used?
He's like, hey, look, I'm not trying to save anybody, here, okay? It's like, I look at it as like, nobody's bleeding. I'm a winner, okay? You know?
I'm just trying to take it easy, pay the rent.
You just tell
Yeah.
the principal, like, come on, you're just trying to cash that tax check. I know what's up here. I know what's going on.
Cigarette smoking right in the interview. Just
Hey, yeah, exactly. Well,
Looking at the principal.
the one time, so when I first started, I
Fix your
thought I
light.
was
This
so
light's dancing
funny.
here. It's dancing. Keep talking. Keep talking.
It's just like disco, baby, But what I was gonna say is, the first year, I remember I was like so excited to give like that first talk, first class. You meet everybody, and so I had this whole routine like planned out, and I like practice it. Like after the first year, you stop practicing that shit. You're just like, all right, oh.
you wing it, right? You
Yeah,
just
drop
no, because
drop
you're
the
like
letter.
nothing goes according to plan ever.
Right, yeah. So,
So
why
like,
plan
just
at
be
all?
prepared for that. Yeah. The
So,
plan is that
hey.
it won't go according to plan. Yeah.
Just like the Never Ending Becoming podcast, everybody.
That's true.
I can
That's
edit
true.
that out, by the
He
way.
looked
so
right at
don't-
the camera.
Don't sweat it 1 second, guys.
Yeah.
No, we got to keep this raw, uncut.
Luckily,
Yeah.
the editor is
Okay,
the
but Joe, you were
podcaster,
saying?
so-
So I had this whole bit thing, and like I was like, "Here's your safety contract," because it was like woodworking, right? And I was just like, you got to take this really seriously, and like, you just want to be very careful. Like, danger and fear are actually like our teachers. Like, they kind of inform us. It's our body's way of telling us like when something's wrong. My job is to get you out of here with all 9 fingers. And I went like this, okay? And like this joke killed. Like, you know what I mean?
Did
I
they
was
all
in-
laugh?
Yeah.
Awesome.
It took them a
Because
second.
in my experience,
Okay.
they just would be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And I'd be like, "Oh,
Oh,
great, I
yeah.
just bombed."
But see, that's the thing, though, is like, here I get this, and I'm like so proud that I can use like dad jokes, like, ad
Yeah,
infinitum. But then, like, 9th period, last day, I'm like, all right, this is going great. I can do this, I do it, and it's crickets. And it takes like 5 seconds. I'm waiting for the laugh. And this girl, she's so sweet. She just raised her hand. She's like really concerned. She's like, Mr. Anderson, we have 10 fingers. I was like,
Well,
bless your heart.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah.
Each
That's
child is special, and so she had the correct school culture attitude.
No.
She was taking
my students would have been like, "We have 10 fingers, you dummy." They would have just called me out right away.
And it's just like, all I'm trying to say is like, it takes an incredible breadth of emotional ability to empathize and anticipate how people react to stuff, to be so like sensitive, so you're not creating like, because when you burn a bridge with somebody, it could last a whole year. You might not even ever connect truly with a kid. They may never do anything for you, and it's personal, like, and they will tell you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's what's so tough. It's real hard work. And what I'm trying to point out about it is, it's like, just like any relationship, public schools it's a people-to-people service, okay? And when any Silicon Valley nut job comes in, we need to disrupt public education. We need to, it can be enabled by technology. It's like every solution they propose is absolutely devoid of any type of empathy or acknowledgement that is the essential ingredient to education.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to say, is like, the guy who comes to you and says we need to disrupt education is someone who's trying to make a quick buck from the tax dollars you already paid. Just like every vendor that sold our district millions of dollars of licensing for these curriculums that never got used. And then the superintendent moves on and probably gets a timeshare at that company's thing in Barbados or whatever. I'm telling you, the money is unbelievable, because it's our money that these slick individuals can come in and they get the kickbacks, and it's gravy for them, and it's shit for the teachers when they ask for a little bit of support. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Tough. I mean, you two understand your teachers, right?
Yeah.
I know
Well,
that.
let me take you to school.
No, I'm a parent of a first grader, so I'm watching this all
Yeah,
take place
actually, can
from
you
the
talk
beginning.
about?
the
He told
beginning.
me the last podcast that we did together.
Yeah.
We spoke about online learning, and it actually made me feel really good to hear what you had to say about your PE teacher, because I just told him, I was like, I can't just sit there and be like, all right, here we go, come on. 20 jumping jacks, do it. Or, 30 seconds of jumping jacks, let's go.
Yeah, he's
without doing it with them.
No, he. I feel like he's been doing it more. I've noticed, but for a while he was just sitting.
He watches the
staring.
pod.
Yeah,
He saw the criticism.
yeah, maybe.
He did.
The actual one that I have a problem with now is the music teacher. She's having some real issues. She doesn't want to. She just. I mean, but to be fair,
What is your music teacher doing?
she's
Besides voting tonight.
she's very cranky with the students. So my daughter's first grade teacher is a saint. I was gonna say her name.
Define cranky.
Mr. Warsh, she's just a saint. Mr. Warshi, having to deal with what is 15, 20 first graders all in a Zoom call and balancing them all while they're all doing whatever they want in their rooms and just.
She has no patience, right?
She has a ton of patience.
No, the
Miss
music
Carlson,
teacher,
none,
I'm saying.
none
Yeah, yeah,
whatsoever.
yeah, yeah.
This is not what she signed up for as a music teacher. This is a lot more work than she wants to do. She does not want to sit on a Zoom call with a bunch of kids and police them on the Zoom call. So lately she's been like, I will be absent for today. Here is some asynchronous learning for your students to do.
She said that?
That's what she did the other day. Is here's some asynchronous learning for your children to do. Blah 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 blah
Wow.
blah. Here they'll click on this, they'll do this thing, and then when they're done, if they have extra time, they'll go here. They know what to do. That's what she said in the video. They know what to do, and I'm thinking, my daughter's in first grade. She does not know what the fuck to do. There's nothing. I mean, she's not dumb. She's not a dumb girl, but
take my word for it.
she's just not gonna. If she's gonna have time to do whatever she wants in this.
That's
25,
anybody.
30 minutes,
That's anybody. An adult. If you tell them, hey, this is your asynchronous time, like work while you're at home doing no one's gonna do that.
Me
shit.
as an adult, I
It's
don't think
insane.
I would do that. So making a
Sorry.
child do it.
I have a big beef with asynchronous time.
Yeah.
I feel like they do that a lot at my school. Like they'll jump onto, I have to go to their homeroom, so I go to their homeroom, and then it's like there's 3 of them there, and then like 10 minutes later into class, like there's only 6 of them. It's like, yeah, they were just on asynchronous time, like they were doing independent math time. I'm like, they're just like running around their house, like and eating candy or something like that.
And there's
right?
YouTube going on. The moms, my
they're-
fiance's with a group chat with all the moms. So some of the moms have been talking about how the kids are all on YouTube together. They'll go into a breakout room and they'll all just be on YouTube. And this is first graders, you know what I mean? And they're already able to maneuver this and work this out.
I can't even imagine, because this is the thing is like, it's been about a year and a half. This was before this stuff. I was on the cutting edge, baby. I was like, yo, I'm tired of trying to get you guys to shut up while I give the demo. So I'm going to make a YouTube video. You guys sit there and watch it.
Perfect.
Awesome.
If you miss it, rewind. Okay. You know what I mean?
That's
and then
funny.
I'd walk around, but I could help the people because I was physically there
Right.
to go through it, and I could refer to that. But now I'm taking a class I've taken the ones where it's like mainly synchronous stuff, and it keeps you accountable. I've had professors that'll keep you say, no, camera on the full time.
Yes.
And it's hard. 2 hours like straight, and you got to like listen.
I mean, we couldn't keep the cameras on for 2 hours here, even for the podcast.
Yeah, I know,
So
man.
how the
I'm
hell
just
the
telling you.
students supposed to keep? We couldn't even stay on focus talking about the election and Halloween for
That's
2
true.
hours.
That's true.
We ended up
So-
going to the public schooling.
Public school, yeah. We didn't even talk about Halloween once yet.
But
James, pivot.
But no, it is important because we brought up the public school being an imperfect entity, but it's it's one of the most important cultural pillars that we do have. A meeting place. I mentioned having a crush on the janitor's daughter. I mean, this is like the glue of society. So
Brought it up.
I
twice.
tell you
I
what-
feel like what he said. But what
are you listening? Are you watching?
Yeah.
what he said is important, though. I mean, it is like a completely imperfect system. I wanted to say broken,
But I don't- yeah.
it's just like
It's one of those things.
it's just hard. Sorry,
It's a necessary evil. I mean, the path of education is never easy. The path of becoming an enlightened and actualized individual is never easy.
I am
and of
starting
course,
a new charter academy called the School of Hard Knocks. It'll offer you all the grit and
the
determination.
never-ending
you need.
education.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, see, then you but like I said, Betsy DeVos, right? Just let's take all the money out of public schools and just give it a privatization. That's
I'm
back to what you were
getting
talking
triggered
about.
right now. You better
Back to what you're talking. But this is what you were talking about. That's what you're talking about, right?
Exactly.
That's
She's-
it.
Isn't she's married to the Blackstone or
That's her brother. Her brother is
Eric
the owner
Prince
of
or-
Eric Prince, and
Yeah.
he's what he
the
is.
owner of Eric Prince?
The owner of Eric Prince. We don't do that anymore here. Yeah,
okay.
Eric Prince, BlackRock. He owns the private security firm does all the contracting out in like Iraq and Afghanistan, all that stuff. And they actually, I think they changed the name to something systems. You know, he's changed the name so because BlackRock was kind of tainted.
Corruption systems.
They killed a bunch of people in Iraq. They had all the problems in Iraq. So they've
gotta
changed the name.
rebrand.
Yeah, they rebranded.
Yeah, we just do
But again, that whole family, the privatization of the military. You want to take even it a step further. It's like, you know, the private militaries. That's what he is. He's a private military. You
Right.
could buy him, and you could go where you want, and he'll fight for you in these countries. And it's not, no nation controls him, right?
But okay, so this is another interesting thing. And I don't know if you watched like John Mulaney's SNL monologue.
Yes.
I thought it was
Hey,
pretty.
you started
it
with
was
it.
great. It
you
was
started
great.
with it.
It was pretty
fucking
sharp.
great.
Bill Burr's was better.
Well,
sorry. I'm
you,
sorry. I'm
you
just
heard
talking shit.
earlier that I stole a joke
Yeah,
from
I
his,
did, I
right?
did. The
Yeah, thank
elderly
you,
man
thank you.
contest,
Yeah.
yeah.
well. And,
Sorry, I didn't mean
But
to.
what I'm trying to
I
say,
love them both equally.
what he does, he kind of references like the Greatest Generation, but what it is interesting is like, for example, like the draft, civil service. Okay, the one leg up that I will say that you know these older generations kind of come to the table with is they have a very real acquaintance with what it means to be a part of the nation in a government capacity in a higher percentage. I'm not trying to glamorize government service in a particular way, but you know,
hope they call the draft. You want them to call the draft in.
I'm not saying necessarily, but you look at somebody like Eric Prince, BlackRock. It's a symptom of what the 60s were. And there's a lot of talk, I think, on the left especially, about what the 60s really were. And this Aaron Sorkin thing of the Chicago 7, I have not watched it yet.
I have not either.
But the criticisms I've heard is that it's, number one, like not entirely factual, and he turns it into a very centrist kind of aspirational thing, as opposed to the actual truth of it. And it's not to say that there isn't a place for making aspirational, hopeful things, but the thing is like when you engage in like understanding like the history of radicalism, most of the time, like, you know, the people, we're still living with the people who shaped that era. And a lot of them turned into Bill Clinton Democrats, right? They kind of sold out a lot of their radical thoughts. They could disguise it as, you know, as kind of practicality, but in reality, it was probably just, you know, the economy under Reagan. Right?
I was gonna say it was the 80s, right? It was the 80s. Greed is
Right.
good.
Right.
Greed is good, and everybody
They had gone
everything.
through that, and they figured out that, you know, hey, you know what? I'm not that pissed off anymore.
I got a microwave. What am I pissed
And
off about?
you start to go back and you look at tuition, and then you realize, like, yo, those guys were complaining about, the draft and shit. But the thing is like, their tuition was nothing.
Dirt cheap.
It was dirt cheap, and it's like, here we're and then they give us shit about like the cost of living and getting hammered by 2 major recessions or whatever, right?
I love when you compare the tuition rates and owning a home and just like the cost of living for somebody in the 1960s and 70s versus somebody today. And it's that, you know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality that is just such a crock of fucking shit.
First of all, can we talk
Right?
about that? What bootstraps?
Bootstraps,
What
again,
does
that's
what
such
does
a-
that even mean?
Right,
what are
right.
bootstraps? Because
Well, wait. So on the way over here, I was practicing my voice. Okay, and I
up
was
your
like
boots-
trying to like anticipate some of the conversations, and I was gonna say that because I was okay. Let me try to get into it.
Yeah.
Well, son, you gotta get out there, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, or your jockstrap for that matter. Like I was for some reason.
perfect. Pull yourselves up by your toe strap.
That's the phrase though, right? Just, you know, you just got to pull yourself up from your bootstraps.
But does anybody know what bootstraps are? Like, I've never seen boots with
No,
straps.
it's not
on
the
them.
1800s anymore. I don't know what a
Yeah.
boots. No,
Were
right,
those the
but-
straps that attach to your T-shirt?
So you know
they
in the
wouldn't-
galoshes, you know when you wear galoshes and
like
there's those
Crocs.
things on you
Right,
think,
but
so
is
you
it just
pull
is
them
it
up.
just for style, or is it?
I'm
to-
sure
it's
that
to
there
hold
was
your socks
utility
up,
for
right?
it, right? If you want to get to work, you got to
They're
pull out
really
the
hot on
bootstraps.
Plymouth Rock. You know what I mean?
Style and
The
economic.
Mayflower.
No, maybe they invented bootstraps just so they could say that. Like,
Yeah.
let's pull ourselves up by
Yeah,
our
Mayflower's more
bootstraps.
buckles on the shoes.
Nobody
right?
else has bootstraps.
Yeah.
We do.
It's probably a lobbying effort by like Bootstrap Inc., like a company.
Cowboy
that-
boots, right?
Bink.
Speaking of generic companies, though, I was in Denver recently, and it took like a tour that took us up into the mountains and came back. But we drove by this building and it has Acme on it. You know how you see that in all the cartoons?
Yeah.
Do you know about this?
Yeah.
So
I don't know what it stands for. No.
I know what
Yeah, I
Acme
don't know.
is,
Yeah,
but I
just
don't know.
that
Yeah.
it's
So Acme apparently was a brick company, and it was a really big, in the settlement of the West, and it was like a very, I think it was national, but they had these clay mines where they would mine all this clay for the bricks. But when dynamite was invented, one of the essential ingredients in stabilizing dynamite, which I think is like basically nitroglycerin but stabilized with clay, Acme became very synonymous with dynamite production and mining. So they have this big building that was like one of the headquarters there, but that's why you see in Looney Tunes this is Acme, because they made all the dynamite.
Everything was exploding, but then that carries on to then Acme Anvils, Acme everything. Then
Yeah.
it became the pseudo company for every product in Looney Tunes. That's really good trivia. I like that a lot.
I don't know.
What time are we going to end exactly?
We're getting there.
If I'm being honest, I want to go to the bathroom and then we'll end later. Is that cool?
Yeah.
You do
We're
what you
gonna-
gotta do.
Go
Got a
use
bio
the-
break?
No, you go use the John. Yeah, well, we're going to be done, I'd
I
say,
got the diabetes.
within the next 15 minutes.
Sure,
I
I'll
would
take
say.
another
I'm
peek.
Wilford Brumley, and I have diabetes.
Most assuredly, yeah. Bathroom stops aren't as easy nowadays. People even try to avoid going to the bathroom, and even then, yeah, Rob's getting the mask out. There you go. Exactly.
So the Electoral College update: Biden 122, Trump 92.
Oh,
All eyes on Florida, which apparently Trump looks like it is leaning Trump right now.
I don't know.
Let's get to brass tacks.
let me tell you the numbers real quick. It's by 300,000. By 300,000 votes, Trump is winning in
Well, that's
Florida.
probably not any of the. It can't be the early stuff, is it?
It looks like most of the districts are accounted for from what I'm seeing too. So
I can't remember the rules on Florida. Is that one of the ones that has to be decided tonight, or is that going to be mail-in for the next couple days?
I'm not sure actually.
We haven't talked about this specifically, but in the run-up to the election, a lot of people have been talking about the fact that basically Republicans, about 2/3 of Republicans vote in person, and 2/3 of Democrats vote by mail. So there's going to be this discrepancy in early voting results versus the in-person results. Obviously, with the mail-in voting, the earlier votes that have been cast, that's going to probably lean heavier left, more Democratic. And today, you probably saw a lot of Republicans at the polls. I mentioned the Times earlier. One of the few things I read on New York Times was that there was a strong Republican showing in Florida.
That's what they were saying.
And
That
the
the ground game in Florida was going to be how they were going to win it. Republicans were going to show up on election day because he's sown so much discord in mail-in voting and absentee ballots that Republicans won't want to use those things. They will want to go directly on election day to in-person voting.
Which we didn't talk about that scenario. I mean, that's a very, I asked everyone to take a guess when they think it's going to happen, whatever. Trump could call, and some people think he will, try to call a victory tonight. And that we're going to get in a situation where we're actually playing out the thing we were talking about earlier, someone trying to assume power, right?
Yeah. I think that there's going to be some attempt. I don't know. It depends on the margin.
Yeah.
If Biden has a clear, I don't know what, I don't do enough of the electoral math type stuff in my head.
It's hard.
Yeah.
No, it's all
Mental math. It's,
I'm not a mental math guy.
yeah, I am mental. It is interesting to see and predict it. But I will say I've been suppressing some of those impulses just because I don't want to jinx it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I didn't mean to dive into, I won't even say his name.
No, I
But
totally
what-
understand.
I
I'm sorry
want to
interrupt
just
you.
point this out is what I'm most concerned about is I feel like it's out of my hands right now. I'm
is.
stressed about it. And it's going to get fucked up either way because let's say Biden wins, the conservatives are going to morph into a more destructive virus than they already are.
The deficits are going to matter again. Everything's going to be like you can't pay for anything, and you have the
they're
Supreme
gonna
Court.
hold the country hostage, and
I think time out. Deficits mattering again. In fairness, also fact-checking Republicans, they're the ones who ran up the deficit with the two wars.
Right.
100%. Bush put them on the credit
100%.
card. So, I guess we
Agreed.
can assume that they would go back to their ideological origins, but there's no recent historical data to prove that that's going to happen. Republicans have ran up horrible deficits.
Ted Cruz recently in an interview said deficits matter. Recently in an interview with the guy from Axios who kind of put him on the spot. Ted Cruz is wearing his cowboy boots with his Senate. Did you see what I'm talking about? about? You know what I'm talking about?
I haven't seen this. But
He had his cowboy boots on, and they had like the Senate seal on the cowboy boots. He was on an Axios News, and the guy was like, he's the same guy who did an interview with Trump, really good interviewer, British guy, and he was basically saying, you know, over these last 4 years, deficits don't matter. You know, if say you lose, are they going to matter again? And he just kind of smiled, and he's like, well, deficits always matter, and basically gave me a smarmy answer that yes, if in fact we lose, it will matter again because it always matters, right? That was his line. So
I don't know
mean-
if you can say this legally, but
Oh, I'm excited now. That's pumped me up.
what is frustrating is that it's frowned upon to comment on like how punchable a face of somebody could be, right?
Well, I mean, if the man is a Zodiac killer,
Are
I
you
mean,
talking-
he deserves a punch in the
Trump
face.
does
am I
not play
right?
by these rules. I mean, I just played a Sleepy Joe sound effect, I think 400 times. Just say
Yeah.
whatever you want to say.
Can you do it
guess
one
what
more
I'm trying
time?
to
I think
say
I missed
is
it.
Ted
Joe.
Cruz. Ted Cruz just makes me sick. He's a sick man.
Well-
he I can't stand the sight of him.
No.
He
Again,
is,
the political parties mainly offering emotions. They
Yeah,
are.
it's just
no
so
matter what sort of fiscal responsibility lapel he has on his jacket, it's going to be more about maybe his face or the way he.
Well, also he's the type of person who's like, I'm so glad my last name's Cruz, and not because of cultural reasons. You know,
yeah.
Ted Cruz, right?
Is what's up?
Oh,
with
I
just-
mean like Tom Cruise. Like people love Tom Cruise. If it
No,
was, like,
Ted Cruz. Like his last name is like Hispanic sounding. So I'm
Right.
just saying he's scummy and he uses that to his advantage.
Hell yeah,
like,
he does.
You know,
I love how
like
you
and he
went to
doesn't give
Tom
a shit
Cruise.
about.
Yeah,
No.
he gets the Tom Cruise boost.
There's several of those guys that have a
That
punchable
Mission
face, though.
Impossible motherfucker.
By the way, what's his name?
Tom Cruise is beautiful,
Marco.
Marco Rubio, who's who we thought of. He was just who I thought of.
What? But what I was gonna say is he still in office? Or?
Yeah, he's in Florida. He's Florida senator.
Talk about getting cucked, man. That
Yeah.
guy disappeared.
We were actually talking about him previously because James won't want me to bring this up, but he's in charge of like the UFO task force in the Senate. So that's how I know who that guy is.
Oh, you can
That's-
promote a prior episode.
Yeah, it
Feel
was a prior
free.
episode. We talk a lot about him.
I was almost gonna wear a tinfoil hat today.
You
know
should
what I mean?
have. You should have.
Tenacious UFOs at night. If anyone's interested, hear the full story from Matt.
Marco Rubio's got a punchable face, Ted Cruz, but I think Mitch McConnell, I don't want to punch him.
I knew this night was going to end
I
this
want to
way.
slap his face.
I knew this
I
night
used
was just
to-
going to end in.
I used
in-
to ask this question at like parties just for fun. It is a good. I'll ask you.
I'm sorry. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
wait.
I can't help it.
No. This is not political. This is just purely your own. Okay. So what it is if you had to slap any animal, no harm would come to the animal. It's purely hypothetical. What would it be and why? Is it open-handed slap, either hand, any style of slap?
We're considering humans being animals.
No,
correct.
No humans. This is just an animal.
But we're animals.
Not according
Excluding
to the Bible.
humans. Excluding humans.
Yeah, biblical
Okay,
rules
That's
here.
helping my
okay?
answer. That's helping my answer.
Wow, there's all sorts of things. So can I choose on the animal where I can slap it? Anywhere, or it has to be the
Yes, but
face.
I want to clarify, as a recreational vegan, no harm will come to an animal. It's completely hypothetical.
Recreational vegan.
Yes.
I don't
Then
love
what's the point of
medicinal,
hitting
yeah.
the animal? No, I'm kidding.
I'm trying to think of an animal whose texture would be fun. Like, you know, because again, if I'm not doing harm to the animal, you know, do I slap a gorilla because that's cool and it's like I've slapped a gorilla, or do I want
Because if a gorilla slapped you, your head would explode. That's
Explode.
why, you know. Like,
but do I want to slap like a hippo's backside? Because I want to feel that texture.
it's the
and
face,
that
though, right?
bounce
Or
on
can you
it.
smack him anywhere?
You just telling us that
Oh.
Florida right now is going Trump. I'll take slapping an alligator in the ass. I'll take
Ooh.
that. I'll give a
Wait, did
Sexy.
Florida alligator a slap right in the ass.
Florida's
Yeah.
not
Is
going
that,
Trump, is it?
Yeah.
Right now it
Where
is.
is the
because
ass
it's
of an
stronger
alligator?
in person Republican votes. at
It's all
least.
those damn swamps.
Is it?
No.
Is the?
That made my brain hurt.
Is it
Where
on
is
the back, like where the tail starts, or is it more of like a?
Under.
Okay,
that
I
feels
see
like
what
you're
you're saying.
tapping the sack.
I see what you're saying. I'm not gonna actually get-
Gators have a cloaca.
Oh.
I'm not gonna tickle the cloaca underneath. I'm gonna slap from above, but the reverberations through the body tissue will reach there. It will.
See,
still...
that's what I'm looking for. Is the justification? Okay, that's all I'm saying.
It's a hard one. I'm stumped. I don't know what I want. I don't know what the texture
I
I
mean,
want.
I just don't. What's my motivation?
I'll give you one. Do you want mine?
Yes.
This is a personality test, Rob. You're trying to find out what your motivation is.
a
through this question.
Jigglypuff. That's my answer.
Oh, that's actually
That's what I'm going. Yeah, like
Yeah.
a jellyfish. I'd like but that might shock me back. Something that's got some give.
right. So I like that. I always say a dolphin because it's like a wet smack. And I have never touched a dolphin. I don't know what that feels like. I feel like it's like a. You know what I mean?
I've-
Pick
I've
the
swam with-
coolest animal to smack.
I've swum with
number
a
one,
dolphin.
the
It's
coolest
more of
animal.
just like it's a wet smack. I mean, otherwise I'd say a pig. Pig would be like, I don't know.
I would want it to be exotic, something I've never touched before. I've touched a dolphin. I've swam
Yeah?
with the dolphins. Yeah, in the
Are
Bahamas,
they-
I've swam with the dolphins 2 times in my
Are they
life.
soft or are they hard?
They're soft. It's like very weird, the texture. It's wet and slick. It's like firm oil almost, you know. And you can feel like if you not like I thumbed it, but it has some like give, like it's got
I
like some
thumbed it.
some sponge, you know, like it's got like a give to it. It's like a
Okay,
very
yeah.
weird texture,
I-
fleshy but firm.
He's like, and it tasted good too.
This is making more
You want
sense
more?
why you want
You
some
want one more? You
dolphin
want more?
action. Making a
I
lot
was
more
just-
sense.
I was just trying to say. Actually, have you ever heard? You're into
Keep going, Matt.
conspiracies
Keep going.
about the girl that was taking all the acid and communicating with dolphins or whatever.
No, please tell us.
There's like this. I haven't dug into it yet, but there's like I think she might have got arrested because she like had a relationship with the dolphin.
I was gonna say, is this the one that had the relationship with the dolphin? Didn't she
that
have?
dolphin owes me child support. God damn it!
But the thing about dolphins is they have an emotional capacity to fall in love. There is proven facts that dolphins have like died and killed themselves when their trainers have left because of the emotional attachment they've had to the trainers.
How does a dolphin kill themselves?
If a jerk
it
off
doesn't
is
eat.
slapping you
it was
like
something
Joe.
like not eating. You know, it wasn't eating itself. It like
Interesting.
starved itself to death.
They call it a free willy.
Yeah. It jumps out of the
A
tank
free slick willy.
and then it falls. It doesn't make it over the escape. It just like
Yeah.
lands on the rocks.
Oh,
So we
no.
got alligator. We got dolphin.
We've upset.
That's a fascinating
Let me
conspiracy.
give you my
though.
real
I think we have
answer.
An
my
aqua
real
fetish
answer.
more than anything. This is
Yeah.
like turning into a hydro thing.
yeah. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, water.
A humpback
reclamation.
whale. I want to slap a humpback whale.
Rob, come on, you were about
I want
to.
to slap that big old hump.
Camel.
I don't know. My animal, I don't really know what it would be. Maybe it'd be like a like giant mole rat or something like that. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
I'm very like I'm actually like terrified of rodents.
Sure.
Like even
yeah.
if you had like a little baby mouse right here and you tried to like put it towards me, I would get up out of the seat and probably leave.
Yeah.
Like it just.
That's interesting.
So
you know,
we got an
maybe-
elephant or a
but
Republican over
but
here.
that's
He's obviously-
hateful. That's too hateful.
Hateful. Well, it's no
Because
harm.
you all were like, oh, how does it feel? Like, and I didn't even think of that.
Well,
I was just like, that makes me feel bad to fucking slap.
Well, if
some
I'm not
animal.
harming the animal in any way,
That's true. You did say to qualify,
no harm.
can't hurt. So Matt, does that change?
Yeah,
your
that's
opinion?
why I thought texture. So if I'm not hurting this animal, why am I even touching the thing? What am I getting out
Can
of this?
it be
this
any
thing, right?
animal, or
Yeah,
does it have
what's
to
in
be
it
a
for me?
living
What's in
animal?
it?
Hey, I'm gonna slap something.
Just gonna spend some
I'm gonna
fucking
try to get a
energy
little bit,
slapping
you
an
know.
animal?
Come on, man.
I got hair legs.
I warned you I was coming back, and I...
Matt.
Yeah.
Did you pick an animal?
I was kind of asked. Humpback whale. Yeah, I would do it like an enormous aquatic whale. Since we were doing the aqua stuff. Like, could
I
you
mean,
imagine,
if
like,
we're getting
slapping a
perverted
humpback
with
whale?
it, no.
But because it's so big, I have to kind of ride it and then slap it because it's such a big. I mean,
Joe, is that allowed?
I
Can
have
you write
to.
it
Well,
and then slap it?
if
Come
no
on, that's
harm
two,
comes
that's
to it,
two things.
if no harm comes
Isn't
to
it
it,
funny when you ask a question, you become the god of reality for
Yes,
like
yes,
how that
yes.
question is answered now?
the
but
god of
you know what's-
hypothetical.
Okay, so I've always had that as a party trick. If you feel free to use it anytime with credit. you know.
Awesome.
But I found that absurd party questions are really fun. I used to have a few more, but I've been isolated for so long I don't remember.
Now's your chance. Practice.
But what I do like is it's really interesting. Some people have such an odd reaction to questions like that. And
Because it asks for creativity.
Yeah.
well, it's creativity,
Well,
but a
also-
lot of people fear judgment. Like in a really strange way. I remember like
I don't know. Do you guys fear judgment or?
I have no shame, so I don't know what that. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
What
no,
is
I have tons of
judgment?
shame. I just, I'll slap anything, right?
Yeah.
But no, I understand what you're saying. If you're putting on the spot, like somebody's like, oh, I'm gonna slap chinchilla, chinchilla. You don't. Some people don't want to take that leap, right? That creative leap and
Well-
put themselves out on a limb.
this one particular thing struck me. It was like I said like, oh my god. Same preface, like I have this question I ask everybody. It's just like, and I was like, what is your favorite color? and
And you say it just like that.
Yeah.
What is
What do you mean by that?
your
What do you
favorite
mean by that?
color?
Instantly, people are like, I was gonna say red, but now I feel like I should say burgundy or something.
Yeah.
but this one this one girl said to me, she's like, I'm not going to answer that. What? I was like, okay, that's fine. She's like, because you're going to judge me or something. You're going to tell my fortune based on it.
That is so
You're gonna,
insecure.
You're going to like, I was like, oh, yo.
You're going to read my future.
I was like, yo, there's a lot of choices. I get it. It's stressful. No, but it's really interesting. Like, I will say this, that when I was in high school, my English teacher, handed out this personality test, and it was like, okay, close your eyes. You want to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Oh wait,
Actually,
I know what this is.
I don't have the worksheet. It was like, close your eyes. Picture
Is
a
this the cube? Yeah, I know this one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I've done this one.
Rob and
I have not done
Do
this.
you know what your
But wait.
answer was?
I do remember.
Hey, do it to him. Do it to him. do
Okay,
it to
yeah,
him.
I
do it to him.
don't know.
Close your eyes.
Yeah, okay.
Close your eyes.
Okay.
Okay.
So close your eyes. Now, imagine yourself laying in the nude.
You fucking liar. See, this is why you can't let someone be in charge. This is why you can't let someone else be in charge.
Sorry, but
Okay, I'm
no,
naked and there's a cube or something.
Yeah, so there's a cube.
There's a
floating.
wet dolphin.
Yeah, there's a cube floating there.
Okay.
What color is it? Is it all the same
No,
color?
it's a cube.
It's like
We
translation.
can't.
It
Okay, we
says
can't do
imagine-
this.
What it is, right, is imagine a cube.
And there's probably
what does
different
it look
versions.
like? When I did it, the point was that they were like, imagine this cube, blah blah blah, da da da, and then in my head I was like, oh, it's like this garage, it's just a cube like this,
Right.
And then my friend, his cube was like the same but in the air. And the point was that, like, if your cube was bigger, it shows you have a big ego and, like, that you're kind of an asshole or something. You know, and that if it's floating in the air, you have, like, unrealistic
And
expectations.
if it's small, you got a small.
right. You have a small box-shaped penis.
I had a micro cube. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Anyway, like, but I remember getting this, and it was like a worksheet form. But this one, I remember it was like, it has 6 sides. Like, what colors are on the sides? I'm like, there's not that many colors, so I like described like all different colors, and like, so one of them was green. And I remember like, flip it over to find the result, and it's like, number one, if you chose green, you're most likely a dope smoker. I'm like, what the fuck?
Not a very good one if you still got a lot of green on your
Yeah,
arms.
You're like, I'm 9.
It's just like rude, you know what I
You're a
mean?
good-
And I took one of those like ability tests or something like that, and I did find out I had ADHD at age 30, and I remember coming back that day and telling my parents about, like, oh yeah, they said I have ADHD.
Explains that 7th grade spelling test, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, exactly. They've never dropped that.
Can I just comment real quick how twice you said it, and it just makes me laugh how you emphasize the H when you say it.
Well,
Is that purposefully?
I don't
You're
know.
like, you're like, I have
hyperactivity,
you're like, I have ADHD. That's how, like, every time you've said it to me, that's how I perceive
should I
it.
do like
ADD is so
Hey,
90s.
Instead of I have ADHD. I have ADHD. That's how
you have ADHD. I have ADHD.
You know, it's
I
funny
have ADGD.
because attention deficit disorder sounds really bad, but attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, it's like, oh, you got a little
like,
superpower
oh,
in there
he's-
all of a sudden.
Yeah.
You got a little power all of a
Just
sudden.
got energy.
It's weird that everyone became ADHD. Like, that's the technical thing now. Everyone's ADHD. There's no ADD anymore.
They just
It's
separated
ADHD.
those 2 pages in the DSM.
Right.
You know, the psychological.
Ever since
how are they
analysis-
stuck together?
Ever since Kendrick Lamar section 8.0 or whatever.
Right.
That might have been, if you look at the chart, that might have been
Yeah.
right at the same time.
They say we both crack babies. That's a sick video though. Yeah. What's the he does that, is it
Hold up.
hold up?
And that song, Hold Up, yeah.
Yeah.
What else does he do? He does there's some other signature, like, noise that he makes.
Oh, like, hold up. Wait a second. We got to talk about this. We got Chicago people in the house. I'm going to go on record right here.
Let's do it.
Nobody likes Chance the Rapper because he sounds like a fucking baby.
Interesting. Chance the Rapper.
I listen to his
I think
first
people
album
don't-
pretty hard.
No, I like him, but
I
you're
think-
right. His voice is annoying.
I think people don't like Chance the Rapper because he's obsessed with Jesus.
That's my big flaw with him.
He's obsessed with
Honest to God.
Jesus?
That's my
That's my
answer.
big flaw with him is he's just
I thought he was just
all
faking
about
it, like
God.
Trump.
And it's like,
And we're back to Trump.
I don't know if
Thank you
that
for
makes
keeping us on point, Rob. I appreciate that.
But does that make me a bad person that I think less of him because
No.
he's so? It's not that I think less of him. That's not what I mean. It's
It's
just
called
like
persecution.
you know,
and people go to hell for that.
he's got a platform. He's using his platform for the way he sees fit. So
Can
who
we
am I? I
just
should
set the
shut up and
record
ignore it,
straight?
right?
Jesus was not a real person. Okay.
I think there's a good record that he is a real person.
I saw his.
I would
I
say
saw his-
Jesus
I would
was a
say-
real person.
Yeah.
I saw the shrub.
Yeah. Hey,
Wasn't
Jesus,
pronounced
man.
Jesus.
Hey, how are you doing?
I've met
Some of that
several
bread?
Jesuses.
Sure, man. This is my body. You want to hit this, yo?
Come on, man.
I like math.
I do think I would say we have no data. I think that's really what we got a bad data set on Jesus and his crew.
Yeah.
I saw the Shroud of Turin in person, but it was behind a lot of glass, so I didn't get.
Oh.
I didn't get my fingies.
I mean,
in
I'm just
there
saying,
to-
if one of your
to
own,
see,
Two
to
little
really see
digits.
what's going on.
I'm just saying, if one of your own homies turns on you, you probably weren't that great of a guy. No, I'm kidding.
Well,
That's all I need to
we're
hear.
talking about Judas, bro.
Judas.
One of my best
I'm voting
Judas.
One of my favorite
Is that-
conversations I've ever had is with this a friend of mine's mother. We were doing some religious thing, visiting the tabernacles. My girlfriend at the time in high school was very religious, so I got sat next to my friend's mother, and she was a very big God lady, and we started talking about Jesus, and I started talking to her about how the odds of Jesus being a Middle Eastern person with brown skin is much more higher than him being a white guy. And I was just talking about how like most of the frescoes are by Italian white guys and blah blah blah. Chances are he was, if his mother was Ethiopian, he was not a white guy. And it was
Shut
like,
up, you little twerp.
her mind was fucking blown. No, her mind was blown. She loved it. She was like, oh my God. Like it like rocked her world. Like she was like, you're
So this
right.
is what it's like to know a drug addict.
No, but it's nice to see logic sometimes, if you actually
Yeah,
follow the
yeah,
steps.
yeah.
She wasn't
Right.
like, no, you're absolutely making this up. This isn't true. She's like, wow, that's all logical.
I'm
makes
sure she
sense.
told your girlfriend like 5 minutes later to break up with.
Oh
this
no, they
motherfucker.
loved me. I was all girls. It was an experience.
This guy
On the
clearly
chance-
studied the
experience.
cliff notes before showing up.
Yeah, right. I was that nerd. I was that fucking.
On the
nerd.
Chance Jesus thing, it could be complicated because it's not necessarily that you just don't like Jesus. It could be that you actually want a connection with Jesus and you just can't relate
We're jealous.
No.
to,
Yeah.
You trying to
Chance,
say we're
to
jealous?
Chance's enthusiasm. So yes, Rob, you are jealous of Chance's
I'm
relationship
jelly
with
of
Christ.
Jesus. Yeah.
Could you imagine though if like it was just more of like, yeah, I met Jesus, I just didn't get along with him.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like Jesus was just like this bro.
He kept telling me what to do and shit.
He was
You know,
okay.
What the
He-
fuck?
like you're his
And I
room-
wanted some
his
water, and
roommate.
he turned it into wine. What an asshole.
Yeah, I didn't need
I had
that.
to
I was
dr-
thirsty.
Yeah, I lived with Jesus for a little bit. It was a slob.
Yeah.
Sawdust everywhere.
He wore sandals with no socks. And we know it upsets Rob. So
Yeah. Well, I always used to say is Jesus had two dads,
Yeah.
Joseph and
it's got you
he turned out okay.
got to walk a mile in his moccasins. That's true.
Yeah.
It's important.
So his real dad was a cuck then, basically, right?
You know what? That's so interesting. I mean, I kind of gotta go back to the Bible just to like read it.
This
There's
is
also a
great.
lot of scandal and a lot of like shit that probably wouldn't even get on HBO in there. You know what I mean?
That Old Testament is some real heinous shit in there. Because it gives you the way to live, and the way to live is just not appropriate anymore.
Hey.
And surprisingly, in Genesis, they say lock her up. It's wild. It's so wild.
You're really keeping us on topic, Rob. I love it.
Yeah.
God damn, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And when
Political
Bob
compass.
Dylan sang about getting stoned, he was referring to the Bible.
He was. Yeah. That's right. The stone that covered the cave that Jesus was buried in, right after the crucifixion. To get specific,
Hey.
I want cliff notes on this. I want those
Well,
page numbers.
Yeah.
Push Christ.
Let's move away from we can go to the Trinity.
We've
of,
covered everything that my parents taught me never to talk about at parties.
Wow. In public,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Recorded
Yeah,
forever
yeah,
for
yeah. I know.
posterity.
Well, luckily it's not live. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's the one thing. I got to give you guys credit actually for coming over because it's not easy to talk for a long time, for hours, about probably the most divisive topic in America right now.
Yeah,
right?
why do you think I went to the bathroom so many times?
I'm actually I have an arrangement with Rob. Every time he goes to the bathroom, I need to make an edit. So I just so I kept running. I need to cut some stuff out here.
Well, what I will say though is, and this is I really do appreciate this, James, because you're creating a forum for people. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to make it a joke, but it's not really a joke. What I'm saying is, especially now, I think that having intentional conversation is something that is not only. It's almost impossible in polite society, because the thing is everybody has learned, like, hey, you don't talk about real shit anymore, and it's just like. I can't imagine being like 22 and wanting to party, because like, let's say you go and first of all take the mask off, but the thing is like, now I gotta listen to this fucking creep talk about this weird shit, whereas 5 years ago would have been like, yo, were you at Pitchfork last year? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about this shit, man. And maybe it's just where I'm too old. I think that might be it. But I do really appreciate getting to decide to have a conversation.
Hell yeah.
I tell you, this beats the hell out of what I did 4 years ago. I mean, sitting at home, just like, biting my nails, looking at the TV, feeling just totally impotent to the situation that was obviously so much larger. Not that I think this YouTube video is going to have any sway in the election that's happening right now.
What do you mean,
but
man?
That we're in.
It's so important.
Maybe 4 years from now. We'll.
No, it's really important, and it's just fun as fuck to be in an engaging situation. I don't want to say being proactive about election night, but I think you need to not just complain about how there is no conversation. You do need to create your own. You do need to find your own culture when you're not happy with the culture that
This is
Daddy
us
gave
participating in democracy right now. We're talking, we're discussing our government. This is what like people wanted, right?
What
this
better
is the
use?
idea, right? If not today and now, but again, thank you for allowing us to have this platform, right? Like
plus great professional setup. I
yeah,
mean, come
right.
on.
Like it's incredible that we get to have, and then to save this for posterity, right? We get to
As
look
my
back
mic
at this in
falls
4
off.
years. As you're
That's
fucking
my
things
bad,
up
I
over there.
unscrewed it.
I get to look back in 4 years and say, wow, I lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, right. Man, I used to look so good there.
Rob, don't worry, we're almost done.
I can't
I
believe
know. It's just I had to screw it back on because
okay.
it literally fell off.
I can't believe I ever liked Joe Biden, right? I'll be saying that to myself. I can't believe I ever liked Joe Biden. I can't wait for Ivanka and 4 years of Ivanka, right?
Oh, man.
What are you guys going to do to put yourselves at ease, just to make sure we're giving some constructive advice to people? Do you have any rituals you're going to do tonight that you usually do, or are you going to do something special maybe tomorrow, regardless of the election outcome, to maybe take agency over your own life, or at least just calm yourself?
Honestly, I kind of want to go the opposite. I don't want to calm myself. I want to stay up all night.
Yeah, chances are
and
that's what I'm
see
going
if
to do.
the results are going to come in.
I won't be able to sleep tonight. I'm just going to watch until I either pass out or if there's some solid we won't know for 5 more days because we're waiting for X, Y, and Z states. That's when I'll go to sleep tonight. Or if it's like something official. The anxiety is just going to not let me do it, right?
Yeah.
I think that it's important to...
Can you do it in the voice? I think
Okay.
that's so important.
Every morning when I wake up, I think about all the possibilities that have presented themselves to me today. I do a silent little prayer, not to God, because I don't believe in him, but to the motionless desire resting within my heart, something that will carry me through the day, such as a song. Maybe it's that Motown cover that the Rolling Stones did. Not the original by the Vandellas or whatever. But the one that's like... That'll get me out of bed. And then I'll go and I'll say, today's my day. I'll walk slowly, turn the TV on, and listen to Jake Tapper tell me that my life is shit. Anyway, that's on my forthcoming album.
I could listen to that.
I warned you I was coming back.
That's great. Ooh, I literally teared up.
You want me to give one more update?
Yeah, let's get another update. I'm going to check the
Oh,
equipment.
it's almost 9. 4 to
Check the
9,
equipment.
so it's perfect. We'll end at 9. I say that, and I don't even have my phone up for anything. Okay,
Seriously though, Joe, that voice is superb. That voice
Thank you.
is great.
so we have Biden with 131 electoral votes and Trump with 92.
Oh.
Yes. What does Russia say?
Unfortunately, though, a lot of states that were blue are now looking very red. Like Texas is looking red now, which was blue for a very long time.
Texas has Texas has been red, which is why hopefully people didn't rest on their laurels. They did get out there and vote.
Yeah, yeah. But it looks like Trump wasn't wrong. His ground game
My
looks
horse
like it's
got
showing
double
up.
COVID. I couldn't vote today.
Well,
COVID-38.
I told you I go get down there to the voting box, and I talked to Gerald, and he said, "Well, you better not whistle past the graveyard, 'cause Trump's
know,
coming back
Gerald.
from the dead." He's coming back. He been beat that old zombie Joe Biden.
Looks
Little
like
old zombie Joe.
Zombie Joe, when he turned the lights off, his teeth glow in the dark. He'd chatter like a skeleton, like he got a bone face.
You did practice that voice.
Oh,
I can tell.
Biden.
The timbre of your vocal cords.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
The timbre.
I mean, James, do you have a voice that you lean on all the time that is like? I feel like you do.
It's always there, like a southern,
Yeah.
like a sort of southern.
I mean,
It may be.
it's like everybody can do a sort of like southern drawl. I don't know if it's quite a drawl, but it's like this sort of like. All my eyes sound like A's, you know what I'm saying?
I have some other voices too, like someone who's like experiencing some horrible nasal decongestion due to like the winter symptoms.
That is very good.
Yeah.
I like that.
I also have a good like puberty voice for someone who gets really nervous
Great
around
puberty
like
voice.
younger or attractive or like women that seem nice or cool.
So nervous.
You know what's really good for imitating Southern people is drinking whiskey. There's a dimension of the audio, right? It's like the timbre of the voice, it's the accent, it's stuff like that, but it's also the ignorance. Whiskey will get you there.
That's so funny.
1000%.
Ignorance
Yeah.
mixed with confidence. Because you'll be like,
Yeah.
you're like, I don't usually drink whiskey, but somebody will be like, oh man, this is the greatest whiskey ever. You'll love it.
Confident idiocy, yeah.
And you'll be like, on the rocks, please. Because you don't drink whiskey. And you're like, all right, this isn't too bad. The ice cube's melting, starts to go down like honey. You're like, okay, I'll take another one, huh? It's in the New York phase, and then it just starts descending. We go from like, hey, I'm walking here to, hey, come on, I'll just do one of those. And it's just a
Like
little bit
drunk
more.
Chicagoan.
Drunk Chicago. And you keep going lower and lower. And you're like, just after you say, hey, come on, have a couple 2-3 beers out in the garage. Then you just slip into, well, son, I told my boy, I told him, if you don't get good grades, you ain't going to get into college. And if you don't go to college, you're going to hell.
We've given some strong wisdom at the end of tonight's program. I'm happy. I'm serious.
Strong wisdom. That's what we're all about here.
Some ways to feel outside of just enraged. Of course, you can stay enraged, but
I will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
As
I'm gonna stay scared.
I'm gonna slap Mitch McConnell next time I see his gobbly face. I'm just kidding.
No, but we're clearly not going to get the full election results.
No.
Speaking of rage, do yourself a favor tonight.
Yeah.
Seriously. Look up Rage Against the Machine at the DNC. There is a live concert outside of the DNC.
Okay. They did it outside. I was like, what?
In like 2000 or something. It's fucking incredible. Walk and run the family with a bucket full of shells.
DNC!
All right, everyone go check out the Rage Against the Machine video. Thank you for joining us tonight. Feel free to take the Cube personality test if you want to.
Hey, good luck out there, everybody. We'll survive no matter what.
Wait, no,
Yes.
I think we really should take a moment right now to just live in this moment, where
10-second
we
quiet time?
thought Biden could become principal. No, I mean not principal. President.
No, I thought he was going to be daddy too. I mean president. You're right. I did think that he was going to become the new daddy.
Granddaddy.
No, everyone should.
United States daddy.
And Rob, I'm gonna steal this away and say, take this moment and realize Biden could have been president, and a lot of things could have happened, and you can probably do something about that tomorrow. So try to make that happen, and good luck.
All
Good
right.
luck, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah, awesome.
Were you just telling people to riot?